Hello?
Welcome, Ultraers and Switchy sisters alike, to episode 1 of the weekly episodic gaming adjacent livestream podcast show. This is Switch to Ultra. Because this is the first episode in a year already full of speculation and discourse, and it's been placed on March 31st, 2025, a lot has happened over the last week alone, and on top of being 2 days before the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct. Also, because it's March 31st, 2025, I would like to wish everyone here and everyone not here a happy International Trans Day of Visibility. There's a chance that this show is a new opportunity to gather an entirely new fan base of people that don't know either of us that well. So I just wanted to say, right off the bat, that if you're not rocking with my trans bros, then this is your opportunity to hop off the train now and leave to go fuck yourself forever. But if you decided to stay, welcome to the Switch 2 Ultra family. I am your co-parent, BH Ultra.
And I am your other co-parent, Switchy.
We've been working on this co-parent thing because we're in that family plan together.
Yeah, no, I got kind of hooked up because I forgot why I got put on your plan. Was that just
it was so we could go to the Switch 2 hands-on experience.
Oh, yeah.
That we couldn't go to anyway.
I'm already the weak link. Okay. Yeah, so we're kind of in the family plan together on our Nintendo Switch. So that's how I get paid for this, basically.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not getting paid for at least not on the turbo side of things. So how this is going to work is ideally we are going to, we're streaming right now on Twitch and the BH Ultra Turbo YouTube channel. And what we're going to do, we're going to do this every Monday with an asterisk. We might do some Super Tuesdays every now and then if we can't do a Monday, where we discuss predominantly the Switch 2 to the Nintendo Switch 2. We were talking about this before the show about like how strict the guidelines of this stream are. And while I do have bullet points of stuff we're going to talk about, at any point if we want to not stop talking about video games, but just like talk about other stuff, I'm sure the podcast will devolve at some point. But this is the first episode, so I got to keep us on track at least for that.
We're both YouTubers who don't exactly have a good reputation for staying on track, so
no,
we kind of have to keep that in mind.
Also, we have a reputation of doing one very specific thing that neither of us are too happy to be doing a podcast about that one thing. But I'll say this. I said in the first Smash video, and we'll get into that later in my first Smash Bros video. If you don't know me, by the way, I was going to do show of hands. I guess we can't keep up with the chat as much. I imagine there are a lot of viewers from me, both on the Twitch channel and the BH Ultra Turbo YouTube channel. Now that I'm streaming later in the day, more people have the opportunity to watch, but I imagine also maybe the video ended. Maybe half of them are also, I'd say likely half of we're going to be co-parents, and we're just combining our families, our Switchy sisters that are here to support you as well. But what I wanted to say about that, in that first Smash video, I said that, like, hey, if they ever announce a new Smash game, if they ever announce, quote unquote, or anything close to it, then I'm going to pivot to only talking about that. That was a little hyperbolic. I wasn't going to pivot my YouTube channel into talking about that, but I think this is the next best thing. So if anything else major ever comes along, like, for example, if there is, like, another season of Total Drama and we want to do, like, a fucking analysis podcast where we talk about every episode after they happen, like how other watch podcasts go through. If we run out of things to say, we'll always have something else going on.
Yeah.
So I am here after the Smash 2 video, which I will talk about. But for me, this is kind of coming full circle, and also I can't imagine anyone finished the video, maybe like a select handful yet. It's a very long video and it did just come out yesterday. But this is the first time I have been on a podcast since 2021. I don't know if you have any experiences with podcasts, if you were ever
not really. I don't think so. I think I've been like occasionally like guested in like small things, but not like, in serious capacity.
That's always like kind of not a high bar for me, but kind of a hurdle for me, where if somebody like wants me to read a line or something for a video and they DM me as like, hey, do you want to read this? I'm like, yeah, maybe, like that sounds a lot easier. But if somebody asks me like, hey, I want to interview for like a podcast or something, that's kind of tougher for me because I'm like, well, fuck, then I have to be entertaining for like an hour and I have to make stuff up.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Yeah,
we're in full control.
I've never worried about that, but I can see why someone would.
I gotta have this impression, I gotta let people believe that I'm nonchalant and cool, when behind the scenes I am very, very stressed. Watched the new Smash video from midnight through my study hall and saw the announcement at the end of the video was like, oh, bro, oh, both Total Drama guys know each other. Yeah, see, the regular stream viewers, that's true. I mean, surely people should know this by now. We've interacted a good amount. I would be
surprised they, like, missed a couple, like, videos or whatever.
Yeah, I missed a couple episodes. Maybe,
I don't know.
This guy uploads videos. No, I exclusively stream on Twitch. Well, we do have a number of things to cover. Okay, this video has just ended, so this seems like a good opportunity to talk about the Pokémon Presents. This took place on, when was it? It was February 27th. That's already over a month away, which it doesn't feel like at all.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And we did watch the Pokemon Presents together, did we?
Yeah. We did. I watched it before you, but I kind of jumped in for the stream.
Right. Because the Nintendo Direct, I'm like, well, I have to wake up for this. I have to watch this live. That I can't miss that, because then I'll hear about it after. But the Pokemon Direct, I knew, like, they weren't going to show anything. I don't want to say they didn't show anything major, but I knew that it couldn't have been, like, they were just going to show Legends ZA, which is a game I already know exists. Granted, I don't know a lot about the game, but I wasn't worried about, like, getting spoiled, quote unquote. Although I did see the starters before I got to, like, see them, because I saw, like, one image on my Twitter.
That's mildly annoying.
But I think for the most part, I mean, do you have anything to say about any of the other games that were shown off on the Pokemon Presents that wasn't Legends ZA?
I would say I do, and mostly it has to do with I'm already forgetting what it's called. I think it's Pokemon Champions. It's the game that was shown off that seems to be some new platform for in-game battles. And what I thought was interesting about that, especially because I've been kind of just, like, on the side playing a lot of, like, competitive Pokemon on Showdown lately, it seems we're not exactly sure what it is and what it's going to be, how it's going to function. I do think it's probably, however it's going to work, it's probably going to be the new, like, space where VGC games are hosted after a while, but we're not exactly sure what the gameplay loop is going to be like.
Right.
If you're going to be able to, how transferring Pokemon is going to work, if you have to transfer Pokemon. I think that's just a whole new kind of realm that might very well change competitive Pokemon forever, or just might not. And also they showed off Mega Evolution in the initial trailer.
That's true.
So I think that is big news in the sense of if it's any insight onto what the future of competitive Pokemon is going to be. Also, it's interesting that I think they're taking an extra year off for Gen 10. Because I assume they're not going to wait more than 4 years for Gen 10.
More than 4? Yeah. Okay. I thought you meant, like, from now. I was like, God, I hope not. We're going to get it in 2030. Well, what is the, 2026 is the 30th anniversary? Because 2016 was the 20th, right? And that's why they did the big stuff with Sun and Moon, and then they had the GB games. I think there's a chance that they go all out for the 10th anniversary. I hope, because the idea is for the Switch 2, ideally, is that Nintendo Online is going to carry over, and thus the Nintendo Online ROMs will also carry over, and we'll just keep building on top of that. I think, like, the thing I was dreading the most, potentially, was the concept of, like, getting a new console and then being like, oh, look, we could play Mario and Ice Climber, like, starting from the beginning.
Yeah, I think that is a serious concern of mine, just straight up.
I don't think they're going to do that because although I do view it as a new console in the sense that we can get new Smash and new Mario Kart and all that, but I still view it as a continuation, more so than any other console. Like, I would say it more than the Wii U, more than 3DS, is a direct continuation of the Switch. I'm not worried about that. I imagine they're going to keep the same infrastructure. Some people will probably be displeased. I think they're probably going to keep the same UI as well.
Oh, you think so?
I mean, probably. Maybe they'll do what Xbox did, and they'll, like, update the UI and then also update the previous console's UI to coincide with that.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I could see that happening.
Yeah. But
what I would have guessed was just a very basic update of the UI to make it feel like something new, even though it basically works the exact same way.
Yeah, that's new sound effects, something.
Yeah, just like new sound effects.
But I think most would agree that the major ROMs rather, missing from Nintendo Switch Online are the Pokemon games. Like, if we have collections of Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games, like, those are the major Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games that aren't still on it, or all the Pokemon ones. And it's strange that they don't have them. So maybe they're waiting for the 30th anniversary to do what they did on the 3DS, where they're like, oh, you could play Red, Blue, and Yellow. You could play Gold, Silver, and Crystal on the eShop. You can get them on the eShop. It'll probably help with the fact that maybe they'll port even more. I don't know. I don't subscribe to the idea that I think the new console will have GameCube Online. I think maybe DS,
I don't either.
maybe.
I don't either.
Yeah. because I heard this the other day because I was watching other people talk about Smash Bros, as I often do. The prospect of like retro, I think my good friend Blastbox said this, the prospect of having like a retro and NES character in the Smash Bros game is that the NES was as old to Brawl, or the amount of years away to Brawl, as Brawl is to like 2026. So I think at a certain point, like, video games advance so quickly over the span of like a decade or two, and then like from the mid 2000s onward, they didn't plateau because games always look better and have higher graphical fidelity and better frame rate, but they have decent enough textures that they can just up-res those textures. If Nintendo wants to re-release GameCube games, I imagine they would do Metroid Prime Remastered or Thousand Year Door remake or the Pikmin ports. Like, I think they would just sell them on their own, because I believe that Nintendo views them as their own product and not something to be put on a service.
Yeah, I think there's something. I mean, part of me was about to say that maybe it's literally just the Z trigger, but that wouldn't be an issue. I think there's just something about the fact that, just as you said, the fact that not plateauing, but the fact that we don't feel that things are retro that are retro. The fact that games from 20 years ago don't feel retro, despite the fact that they are old, as old, like they're literally as old as 8-bit games are. For them that are, you know what I mean? Right. So because of that, I think that if they can get away with not selling GameCube games or like doing a GameCube service, I think they will. Especially because they've already done a lot of remasters. I think they kind of want to keep that like way of getting, getting income kind of like liquid, I guess.
Of course.
I don't know. And also, I mean, I can't see DS games or Wii game. Maybe Wii games. I don't know. I think the Wii, especially with the motion controls, it's definitely more finicky. That if nothing else, they would have to give each game a lot more individual attention for setting it up on the Switch with Joy-Cons. I mean, they were able to do it with Mario Galaxy. I mean, Mario Galaxy is so fun on the Switch, but you would have to really put in a significant amount of effort to make it work, I think.
Are you talking about them remaking and re-releasing Wii games? Or are you talking about Wii games on NSO?
Just like an NSO Wii service.
Right.
I think that's like,
well, my belief for the GameCube is that they think GameCube is already modern enough that they don't have to port them. They could rather remake and sell them. I imagine they would have the same standpoint as the Wii. We don't have like a strict schedule. We have bullet points here. If we want to like jump back and forth between different stuff, I'm sure we'll get into direct predictions near the tail end of the stream. However, I think in Masahiro Sakurai's final YouTube video, he said that he was working on a major project since 2022. And Bandai Namco, when they rebranded or at a subsidiary, what's it called, like Studio 2 or something, where they're exclusively making Nintendo games, and now we know why it's called Studio 2.
Is it because of the Switch 2?
I imagine so. But and they had like a job listing for a 3D action game, and some people believe that like all this could mean Smash Bros. And while I don't doubt that we will get a new Smash on the Switch 2, some people seem very torn about that like, oh, we'll get like Ultimate Deluxe. I don't believe that at all. I would be really disappointed if that's what we got. I think there's still a lot more to do with the new Smash game. But I think there's a chance, especially now, because if we're talking about how difficult it is to port or remake certain 3DS or Wii games, now that they have the mouse pointer, that the Joy-Con being a mouse is such a major selling point of the Switch 2, I think there's a good chance we could get something like a Kid Icarus Uprising remake, where you use mouse controls instead of the touchscreen.
I could see them just doing a Kid Icarus Uprising remake with just double joysticks. I mean, they won't have the same kind of like tracing thing, but I don't think that was that necessary in the first place. I mean, the only reason they ever did the touchscreen thing with Kid Icarus Uprising was because there wasn't a second joystick on the original 3DS.
But what I'm saying is with the mouse pointer is that they could port it like pretty accurately now, especially with like, and you're saying like with other Wii games that might be harder to port. If the issue is the Wii pointer, I think that the Joy-Con mouse could circumvent that. And now that like it's showing on screen this part of the Direct, I guess we could circle back, because you said earlier that you believe this is going to be like the major competitive game that people will maybe not transfer their Pokemon into, but use their Pokemon from home to replace whatever the VGC does. I think maybe I agree to a certain degree, but I think the fact that this is clearly going for the market of people who use like Showdown, and a lot of people use Showdown like recreationally, they're just like, oh, let's just bump this out real quick. I think it's more of like a chess.com sort of thing, where instead of making this like, oh, this is going to be the grand stage, this is Pokemon Stadium, this is Pokemon Coliseum, like you can play your Pokemon in like a game solely built for tournament style fights. And I believe that is true. But by the way, this trailer is going that they're focusing a lot on the like a smartphone aspect of it.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a lot smaller scale. I don't doubt that they will use it for championships, but I think it'll be more of a mobile game than a Switch game, like how Pokemon Unite is.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, you might be right. I think especially because that was a thing I think we talked about on the stream. The fact that Pokemon what's it called like Pokemon Champions,
yes,
like the fact that it's gonna be on the phone, I'm really curious what they're gonna do, if they're gonna do anything to monetize it, because the fact I think what it might be, I doubt it's gonna have like a base price. I think there might be just like a free to start element to it, just because I feel like most Switch Nintendo iOS games so far have been free to start. That's what they call it, free to start instead of free to play, because I guess they don't want to
banner ads.
Like fuzzy about it.
Think about it like this: banner ads.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, see,
you get like a freaking like one of those like King needs to escape his castle.
Yeah, dude, I play a Sudoku game every day on my phone, and whenever like so, it's not even when you fuck up. Sometimes if you match enough numbers, it just starts playing those ads, and you can't skip them. And like, I guess I could pay for proper Sudoku, but I don't want to do that.
No, yeah, no, I feel it. I feel it.
But that's suppose we all, because the interesting thing about the Pokemon Presents is that I don't think ever since they started doing them in, let me say 2017, I think maybe 2018, there has been a Pokemon Presents on Pokemon Day every year. And this one, to me, the way they show Legends ZA footage sort of feels like, okay, we want to show off all these side games, but we also got to have the main game in here somewhere. Because honestly, I feel like maybe this is recency bias. I could be very wrong, and now I'm saying it out loud, I might be wrong. But I feel like we got more info on the Nintendo Direct than we did in Pokemon Presents.
For ZA? Or
yeah.
I would say no, just because I think the original release just showed off like a basic concept art. Like they just kind of showed off like an outline of
No, I mean like more info in the Nintendo Switch 1 Direct that we got the other day, more so than the Pokemon Presents itself.
About ZA?
Yeah.
I guess I wouldn't say so, just because we hadn't seen any gameplay footage until the Presents.
That's true.
Yeah, and then a month later. Wow, a month.
But
right?
I'm thinking, I know, right? I'm thinking in the context of like just watching the Switch 1 Direct. Like if you just watched the Switch 1 Direct, you wouldn't miss anything. So I think this is just like they're like, we have to show Legends in this. People have been waiting for this. It's kind of a formality. I feel like we still it's absurd to me, and we can get into the Switch 1 Direct after, but we still do not know the release date. Like I've been doing these regular news updates, the Turbo News on the Twitch channel, even before like starting the show, because I knew we were building up to it. I think we've been on this idea for a while now. I think we talked about it at MomoCon last year, which was almost a full calendar year. I think, I'm going to read the chat. I think Pokemon Champions is mostly aiming to audiences like India and South America. In the sense that like they primarily use their phones or Switches, or just like to reach more people. How do you mean? Because I do think the goal here ultimately is to make competitive Pokemon battles more accessible, but that's where the
phone market. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's where maybe the not pay to play or pay to win, but like the microtransactions could come into this game. It could be like any previous Stadium game where there's like rental Pokemon, because again, I imagine to use the Pokemon in this game, they need to be in your Pokemon home, and you need to catch the Pokemon in one of the Switch games. And if there are people out there that want competitively viable Pokemon that don't want to, or can't, or not can't, but just don't play the Switch games, but still want a Pokemon battle. Pokemon, my mistake. I've been saying Pokemon my entire life, and nobody says Pokemon.
They started just even now they just start saying Pokemon in Pokemon or official stuff.
Right, Pokemon. Well, that's what he says in the fucking first video. It says Pokemon because it's in
Pokemon.
It's in what is the video called? The Sky had a Ouija. It's Mega Evolution in this. I know there's been like. Well, I guess we could talk about Legends ZA now that it's on our screen, but I haven't seen any like leaks, at least not from people I trust, and I've also been on a tirade on X, the Everything app, of just muting every checkmark I see. So maybe the popular leakers like Pioro or Centro Leaks, who just like reverberates or regurgitates rather other people's information, have heard stuff about new megas. I don't doubt that there won't be new megas in this game. I just don't know. I don't think anyone knows per se, nor do I necessarily want to know.
I think I saw some alleged lists. I don't even know how like verifiable they are. Right. They might just be like total like dog water. Absolutely. But I remember seeing a list of like, it's like 20, 25, which honestly 20 or 25 seems like more than we'd actually get. I'd be surprised if we get even 20 mega.
Well, how many megas are there?
Like in general, 30 or 40.
Okay, did X and Y have 20?
Let me see. I assume it was about probably like X and Y probably had like 20, 25, and then Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire probably added like 15.
How do you feel about the starters of Tepig, Chikorita?
I'm a Johto optimist, so I'm happy about it just because of basically just because I like Johto, and because Johto Pokemon are infamously undertuned, that I think just kind of buffing Chikorita and Totodile, like I can deal with it. I think honestly though, to be fair, I saw people bring up that it should have been a Piplup as one of these starters, especially because Empoleon is based off of, or at least the name partially comes from Napoleon, so it'd be kind of cute to do something like that. And I guess I agree, but I'm fine with Totodile, to be honest.
I think that was my issue with it, although like I think people are taking this whole Chikorita thing maybe a little bit too seriously, and maybe it's like an irony loop, a feedback loop, where I'm the one taking it seriously by getting people's obvious jokes and believing that they're not jokes. But I don't think it's that deep. I do think Chikorita is the worst of these three, not by any objective stance. Totodile was the one I picked for Johto, and Tepig is the one I picked for Unova. And it's not even that, like, oh my god, I hate Chikorita, get her out of here. It's more that, like, I prefer the idea of each starter being from a different generation, because that's what Legends Arceus did.
Yeah. And no, I agree in that sense. I definitely don't. The Chikorita is one of my favorites. I feel like for me personally, if there was any Pokemon starter that I would love to see just get, like, cracked, it would be Chikorita.
Yeah.
Like Meganium.
I agree with you that I guess like one of them would have to be replaced, and it could be Totodile with Piplup, like if we want a different starter. This is, however, because of the starters they chose, the first time since, I don't know, Sinnoh maybe, that I'm legitimately torn. Like, I don't know which one to pick. Maybe Alola a little bit, because like I really like Tepig and Totodile. Like in their individual generations, those are the ones I pick. And it took myself a lot of convincing to even pick Litten, because I had picked the fire starter for the like 3 generations previous. Even though like I don't particularly love any of the Kalos starters, but I would say Fennekin's probably the one I like the most out of the 3, just off of the basis of being fire type.
So you're definitely a fire type person?
Oh yeah, for sure. Do you have like a primary type or like subtype that like if you were a trainer you'd be like, this is it?
Either dragon, probably dragon, to be honest. Like, I think dragon's always been kind of my shit.
You just want strong Pokemon.
Ever was No, literally.
Weak Pokemon, strong Pokemon. This does not matter.
Pokemon that climb on rocks.
That's for true. I mean, that's what my Infernape I made all the way. The Infernape that I got into the Johto Elite Four and the Sinnoh Elite Four, I could still go back because I backed up those ROMs. His moveset was Flare Blitz, Close Combat, and then Ember and Cut. pretty solid base. I got all my coverage covered.
I never used Flare Blitz as a kid just because I hated the recoil damage. I think I just used like flamethrower.
I just wanted it to be powerful. Well, what I did was I like got stuck somewhere in Diamond, and I was kind of not shocked to realize, but like I was under the impression that everyone has always transferred their Pokemon. But I've come to realize that like when they shut down Pokemon Bank, that everyone was kind of panicking. It's like, man, I backed up all my every time there's a new generation, I always transfer all my Pokemon up. I've done that since the beginning, and I loved trading back and forth. You have
patience for that.
It was fun. I liked doing it. I also had multiple DSs, so it was like easier.
Yeah.
Well, like when I didn't, I would go over to my friend's house and they're like, "Hey, can I borrow your DS?" And then you would do the little slingshot mini game. I always liked doing that. I found it fun. No, I found it
wasn't fun for me.
It was fun. But
yeah.
During Gen 4, like by the time I was stuck in Diamond, Heart Gold came out, and I got a decent way through Heart Gold, and then I got to the like end of that, and then I transferred my Infernape into Heart Gold, beat the Elite Four, Kanto, and Red with Infernape, and then transferred it back into Diamond and beat the Diamond Elite Four. And I think as a kid, that's like the coolest thing you can do is like keep like that. Infernape was a bigger part of that team than my Feraligatr was.
Yeah, that's lit actually.
Chikorita could have been replaced with like Turtwig. That's true. My initial thought was like I'm thinking of France like, oh, it could be like Snivy, but then we have the same problem of two of them being from the same generation.
Yeah. I think for me the reason I'd rather it be Meganium than Torterra is because even though Torterra still like isn't that good like in any kind of competitive format, like there's still like unique things about it in terms of like what it can do in a battle.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, like the Johto starters have just like never had like anything interesting be done with them.
No, and they're all monotype.
They're monotype. They have like no moves. They have no stats. It's just like that's why you know it was so fun seeing like you know the Hisui and Typhlosion. And I assume the starters that we get are going to get new Mega forms, so I'm kind of excited to see what we probably are going to get as like Mega Meganium, Mega Feraligatr, and Mega Emboar and stuff like that.
It's got to be Fairy type. I'm locking that in now. I think Mega Meganium's got to have Fairy in there somewhere.
I kind of hope not, honestly.
How
it probably will be, but
yeah, it's interesting how like there's other evolutions or other gimmicks that I think work way better that they missed the boat on. Like Megas are popular, and they're always gonna circle back to Megas. I don't know if the other gaming gimmicks when it comes to Pokemon are as fortunate. But, like, I still have the idea of Torterra Gigantamax, like, bouncing around in my head like the DVD logo. And they'll never be able to do it again. Like, I feel like if Torterra would ever get anything, I think Gigantamax makes way more sense.
They would do a lot of cool stuff with it.
Yeah, would you remember...
like it with Snorlax.
Do you remember in the fucking Detective Pikachu movie when, like, the mountain started moving and they found out they were on the back of Torterra?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I thought that's where they were going, and then it didn't really amount to anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, we have been talking back and forth about, obviously, we've started our intro, talked about stuff that happened the last couple of days, talked about the Pokemon Presents, but if we're going in timeline order, the good thing about a show like this, I've been on, for anyone who doesn't watch my streams regularly, I've been doing this every Thursday, where I play a different Nintendo Switch game leading up to the release of the Switch 2. And we can probably speculate on when that release date will be, but for the time being, I think I've played like 30 or so different Switch games. However, there are different subsects of games that I don't necessarily fuck with, nor have I like tried. Maybe if I played them, I would like them. I think there's some games that just don't facilitate streaming for me super well, because I like playing one game. Instead of playing one game nonstop all month, I like to do weeks where I'm like, oh, this is the game I play on Wednesday. So large RPGs don't really fit that model. However, that's why you are around here. Since the last time we spoke, Xenoblade Chronicles X: Definitive Edition released, and I have not played it, but you have, and I'm hearing you have a decent amount of hours. So you have the floor to just talk about that game.
Yeah, no, so it's funny because I've actually considered making a video about it in the past just because I think it's just a fun example of like a game that I hated at first because it was different from what came before it. Okay. But then eventually you kind of like see a lot of merit on its own way, especially because I think it's a really it's the Wii U game at the very least. Like it's kind of rough around the edges. Even now there's kind of a lot of things about it that I don't really care for compared especially to Xenoblade Chronicles 1 because it's a whole different kind of setting. It's a whole different kind of story. There are similar, I think, basic kind of plot threads that you see a lot in Xenoblade. But, you know, I think X, when you kind of know what to do in X and you kind of have developed a decent X the everything app.
Yeah.
When you've kind of gotten a vibe for how like a fun gameplay loop in Xenoblade X, it's a really fun game, especially once you kind of get scales, which are basically like the mechs that you kind of can ride in and kind of control and stuff like that. So yeah, no, I mean, I'm playing it again for the first time since I was 14, and I'm falling in love with it all over again. I remember when that game came out, I kind of wasn't vibing with it at first, especially because the UI was really not that good. But then I kind of like started getting a groove, and I remember that game basically like completely inverted my sleep schedule for a while just because I was staying up all night playing it. Because like if you like, it can be a very, very addicting game. So yeah, no, I mean, I think Xenoblade X is great. It's really cool to see it kind of be expanded on, like what they're doing right now, because there's a new epilogue. It's been really kind of like visually retuned in an interesting way. because they're kind of like it's interesting to see because the game in general, the series in general, has kind of, I don't want to say, I'm trying to think of the word, like they've kind of like set out a more base art style for the entire series after doing a lot of like experimenting since 1, because 1 had a really kind of unique art style, and then X had a whole different thing going on, and then 2 had like, I don't know if you ever seen art from 2, but like all the characters have like different art styles. It's actually kind of annoying to look at for me specifically.
That's the one with Rex.
It's the one with Rex. So Rex just like doesn't have a nose, and then like one of the other characters looks like a Final Fantasy character and stuff like that. Or Kingdom Hearts character, because it's literally designed by a guy from Kingdom Hearts. So it's a real different kind of visual direction. And I think after that they did the Xenoblade 1 definitive, and they kind of made everything look a little bit more anime. And they, because the game was on the Switch as opposed to the Wii, they kind of really settled down with, I think, the direction they wanted with the series to go. Xenoblade 3 was also an example of that. It really felt like kind of the synthesis of the 1 and 2 art styles. And you're seeing it now again, because the X definitive edition looks considerably more, I guess, quote unquote, anime than the original one did. I think it's overall like a big visual upgrade, because I think the original one just kind of looked a little bit dopey at some points. But yeah, I don't know, I'm kind of rambling, but yeah, it's a great game. I love Xenoblade.
I mean, that's the purpose of the segment.
I'm really happy that we got this.
Yeah. Can you explain to me, like, outside of because I know Xenosaga came before, the lineage or other release order of the Xenoblade games?
Yeah. Well, do you want me to include Xenosaga or
no? Just like I know. From what I know, Xenoblade, the first, the one on the Wii, was like not to be released in the West, but then there was a huge fan outcry, so that they eventually did release it, and then it did really well.
Yeah, I don't know if really, I guess it probably did do pretty well. It probably did better than they were expecting.
I mean, at least to warrant them continuing to release more.
Yeah.
So like from there onwards, I guess the ordering of the releases, because where is Chronicles X between 1 and 2?
Yeah, so basically I forget when it originally came out in Japan. I think the original game came out in Japan probably 2010 or 11.
Okay.
It then had a European release, and that's why they all have British accents and stuff, because they dubbed it for a European audience and not an American one. And that ended up being just like a stylistic choice they kind of went forward with the series with. But anyway, because of, I forget what it's called, like Project Rainfall, I think it's what it's called. I haven't read up on it in a few years, but what they did, there was basically a big outcry for Xenoblade be released in America along with 2 other games, one of them being The Last Story. I forget what the other one was.
Right.
Primarily, I assume by people who were fans of Xenosaga, because although Xenosaga wasn't like a heavy hitter, it still had a pretty dedicated fan base. It was written by the same guy. So that was enough to kind of have it warrant a release. And actually, it's funny because of the definitive edition and all that stuff, like the copies of the Wii game used to be like $100. Now they're like $20, which is so nice. The game came out in the United States, with a limited release, did well enough that I think there was enough demand. I actually don't know if the demand was more in Japan or just among like the kind of like the real Nintendo nerds at the time that got Shulk into Smash Bros. I think Shulk being released, put in Smash Bros was really what kind of decided to like what really kind of like what's the word? Kind of shot the series forward a little bit.
Yeah, I mean that's what happened to Fire Emblem in the West. Is that
Fire Emblem too? Absolutely.
Roy and Marth were just put in Melee. They were supposed to just be in the Japanese version. Which is so crazy to me. That's insane to me about the concept of like just thinking about like modern Smash games, the prospect of like one roster being different depending on what region. Like that would have entirely.
I'm glad they didn't go through with that. That's what's ridiculous. Yeah,
I mean most people that play competitively use a specific version anyway, because there was a 0 or 1.0.1 version that was released in Japan after, but nobody uses that because they fixed issues in it.
Yeah. That's the funny part. But yeah, so in the aftermath of the Xenoblade 1 release, I think they actually announced Xenoblade X before they announced it as a Xenoblade game. I wouldn't be surprised they originally didn't really envision it as one, because it's a whole different kind of story, and that's why it's called X, because it doesn't take place in the same kind. It doesn't have the same kind of like sci-fi fantasy setting. It's more just pure sci-fi. I guess there is still some fantasy elements, but there's a whole lot of differences in its type of storytelling, the kind of all that stuff than how Xenoblade historically and Xenosaga, to be fair, have historically been told.
Is it set kind of in the future of Xenoblade, or are they around the same time?
No. Okay. No, it's not. It's not. There are like very kind of there are definitely always similarities between games, but generally the connections are kind of loose. and intentionally so. But for Xenoblade X, yeah, it's because of that, I think it felt like a big black sheep, and it continued feeling like one. But I think just because it has like a really unique combat system, just a unique gameplay loop, different from 2 and 3, which eventually would come out. 2 came out in 2017, 3 came out in 2022. I think it kind of like developed a cult following of its own that warranted a kind of definitive edition release, and it seems to be doing great. So I think Xenoblade X is a good example of a game that probably would have gotten a lot more buzz if the Wii U had done better. Because
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean, it's yeah.
before you were saying like, oh, when it first came out, like how it completely inverted your sleep schedule and was such like a major release. And I'm thinking back, like, although I had one and I was always supporting it, and like I've always been a Nintendo fan, like I don't think there was a Wii U game for me that absorbed my life like that. Maybe like New Super when it first launched, maybe a little bit of Mario Maker, but there was no real like Wii U game for me that I dedicated so much time to playing, at least not like compared to other major releases at the time.
Yeah. Actually, Xenoblade X, this is just a personal story.
Sure.
It was the game that made me like take my Wii U out of like this kind of like more communal living space area in my house to my room. I just set my Wii U up with like a monitor, and basically I just played that shit all day with my computer in the same room as my computers, because I wanted to like just like have as much of it as possible. And back then, I didn't want to go through the whole like 2-minute long sequence of like turning my Wii U on and then like playing for an hour and then having to turn it off every single time, because it's a game that benefits from being able to just kind of pick up, play for a few minutes, and put down. And that's a whole thing with like the Switch in general. It's so nice just being able to kind of put games in sleep mode and not have to worry about anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you say it works better on the Switch?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was worried at first. I'm like, oh, what about the gamepad features? But all the gamepad features really is just like you can kind of access a map that kind of like shows you the environment you're exploring on the touchscreen, which is nice. I mean, it's fun having stuff like that, but there was still a mode in the game where you can just kind of play it all on one screen. There is something a little mildly annoying, I guess, about, you used to be able to just kind of look down and see everything as opposed to like press start or press Y or whatever, but it's really not that big of a deal. We are eating good with every single Xenoblade game on the Switch. It's great. I'm really happy because Xenoblade's my favorite game ever. And like, I think honestly, playing it again is reminding me like, oh yeah, no, this Xenoblade X, like it wasn't a black sheep. Like there's a lot of cool stuff about it. So I'm excited. I'm happy.
So 2 came out after X.
Yeah.
Was there anything after that? I feel like there was a major release. 3.
So
okay.
2 eventually had like the DLC, The Torn of the Golden Country, which came out about a year later. That's kind of what they've been doing. And that kind of like expanded on the story a little bit. And then 3 came out in 2022. Actually the same, like the day before my World Tour video came out. So I remember like playing it while the video was premiering, because it's like I couldn't be asked to like watch the entire thing in full again after doing that all week.
Yeah. I watched before the Smash video went up. I'm like, I need to watch this back, and I legit watch it on double speed. And I did notice like 1 or 2 things, but I'm like, if I render this again and upload it, it'll take like another day. Nobody else noticed. Yeah,
exactly. So yeah, no, then 3 came out. 3 had DLC coming out about like 7 or 8 months later. And I assume they're gonna do the next one in the next 2 or 3 years.
I mean, Monolith Soft normally, I mean, they assisted with Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah, they did.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. And I don't want to like spoil anything because I think it's really meaningful to me. I don't want to like the fewer people, the more people in the world who discover who play Xenoblade Chronicles blind for themselves and the entire series blind for themselves, who do that, the better the world is for me. So I don't like really kind of like spilling the beans, like in any capacity, even to like close friends. But I will say that the 3 DLC kind of made it very clear that there's a big future for the series, at least in terms of the lore or whatever. So I'm really excited. So yeah.
I suppose like it's one of the major, major companies that's like Nintendo adjacent or has a very tight deal with them that will continue to make exclusives. It's a company that works very closely with them. Not that you would necessarily call third party. I believe they call them like second party.
Yeah.
That are working close, and that's why they're helping to assist on other games. But yeah, I've never played one. Maybe if like they do another major release. But what I'm hearing is that 3 probably came out like 2020 something. 2022.
3 came out July 2022.
Yeah. And there was not a lot of stuff in 2022.
Yeah, no, I remember being so excited for it.
Monolith is owned by Nintendo. Okay. Is
Oh, okay,
HAL
it is.
owned by
Yeah.
Nintendo? HAL Laboratories? I
Actually,
always
don't know.
assume
I
so.
assume it is,
Because I
but
know, like,
it
Game
might be
Freak.
technically separate.
Wait, on this YouTube chat is saying, is it okay to start Xenoblade with Chronicles X? I want to get into the franchise, but I'm afraid of having to play Xenogears and Xenosaga
Oh,
first.
bro, yeah, no, you're chill, because I mean, I think Xenogears and Xenosaga, I will absolutely recommend playing those games. Like they're great games. They're definitely a little bit more clunky than I think the more modern ones are. I feel like people who aren't big RPG fans, who kind of if you try and jump into Xenosaga especially, I like to say Xenosaga is what I call the anti-Goldilocks zone, where games were like of like the mid 2000s, where games were long enough that they took forever to beat, but they were also clunky enough that they still like a single battle is like 4 minutes and it's kind of stupid. The story's great. But I think Saga is decently okay, easy to pick up and play because it's kind of retro. It's a PlayStation 1 game. I'm sorry, I meant Gears. Gears is the PlayStation 1 game. Saga is a little bit harder to pick up, but it's worth it. Xenoblade Chronicles X, you can totally pick it up and play it, and just like you'll be fine. I would recommend if you want to play the numbered trilogy 1, 2, and 3 to start with 1, but otherwise you'll be chill. Like yeah.
That's sort of how I've been feeling about Monster Hunter recently, because I've been getting really into playing Monster Hunter Wilds. Oh, that's just how I've been feeling about Monster Hunter recently, because I've been getting really into Monster Hunter Wilds. And I think the biggest issues with those games is that, or with that game in particular, is it's the first, like, oh, this is the first open world Monster Hunter game. And it's kind of like, maybe Pokemon isn't a fair comparison, but other open world games where, like, it just is open world to be open world. It doesn't really have a purpose to do so. Where, it's not unfun, but traversal is, like, not fun. It's not annoying, but it isn't like it's something like Spider-Man or any like a GTA game. Like traversal is fun, and for an open world, it needs to be fun. And you can fast travel.
That's actually a complaint I have with Xenoblade X, to be honest.
Yeah, but
at least early game.
With that, it's like I'm really into the gameplay loop of Monster Hunter, and I like Monster Hunter Wilds or Worlds, whatever one. Wilds. That's the one I'm playing right now, the new one, that came out this year. But it kind of makes me just want to play the Monster Hunter on like the PS2, because I'm like, if it has the same gameplay loop, not only will it feel nostalgic and retro, but also I can feel like I'm getting into the series from the beginning. But also, I imagine it's a little bit more streamlined on smaller consoles.
Oh, on small. Okay.
Well, because that can't be open world, and even if they wanted to, like, it's still a PS2 game. They have their limitations.
I'm definitely kind of. I mean, despite the fact that I love Xenoblade, I'm kind of a generally open world negative guy. I think a lot of the time it's just like not that fun.
I prefer a more dense world than one that's like super open. And although I do play GTA Online all the time, and I'll probably stream it a lot at some point this year, because I would love it, because I landed on it the other day and we just played it and everyone really enjoyed it. But although I know Los Santos, like that map, like the back of my hand, and it feels like home to me in a weird sort of way. It's also, to my understanding, of all the GTA games, the least dense one. So every time there's an update, they add like an interior to a new building. But like in older GTA games, although the world was smaller, you can go into every building. You can go into the bank, into the fast food place, but for most of GTA 5, like, the map is bigger, but the doors are textures. You can't open them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a thing I noticed with, and this seems to be like a generic ass. I'm not a huge GTA fan. I haven't played many games, but I remember I played 5 and San Andreas in full, and I think I enjoyed the San Andreas map more. I think it's just kind of like, I think also just because there's multiple cities, that kind of adds to a lot of the fun, but San Andreas, you could enter a lot more stuff. I think in general, the characters were a little bit more interesting. The story wasn't as just kind of like, what's the word? I'd say cynical as 5 is, where 5 is just kind of like goofy to a certain extent. But yeah, I don't know.
No, keep going.
Okay, I think in general, like open world, it's hard to do it right, and I think a lot of games will have open worlds for the sake of having open worlds.
Yeah. Like that's the direction you go.
I know. I actually, Rockstar, I feel like, has a lot of jokes made at their expense for it. Is that it's like they just like don't seem to understand that not every single game needs to have like a completely open world. Because I think that there are a lot of games. I think honestly, a lot of my favorite things about Xenoblade have nothing to do with the open world. Like it's sometimes kind of fun, but like, you know, the term butt map is a funny term to me because I feel like that's kind of true. Like a lot of these, like they're not procedurally generated, but they might as well be. It's like, okay,
right.
Yeah, like
I mean, we were just talking about the new Pokemon game, like before we transitioned over to Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition. I love titles like this, but I feel like I've all the things I ever wanted out of a Pokemon game, like since I was a kid, like my dream of what the perfect one could be, I don't necessarily think that they need to be open world.
Yeah, no, same.
Like I or at the very least, I think they can do both. I said this in the Smash video, but even Kirby now, like Mario on the Switch, you have 2D Mario, 3D Mario. Zelda, you have 2D Zelda, 3D Zelda. Metroid, you have 2D Metroid, 3D Metroid. And now even Kirby, even though there's only been one, you have 2D Kirby and 3D Kirby. I see no reason why they can't alternate, and although people don't like that game, and I think it has a lot of issues, but I think if
people
they
not
did
like the 3D game.
well, no, I was about to transition into saying Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, like something more along those lines, but maybe done in-house so it doesn't turn out like that. Because when everyone talks about scaling back and making a 2D Pokemon game, they're like, they want it to look like Octopath Traveler and use sprites. I don't think they would ever do that. I don't think...
Oh, finally. Oh, yeah, we just need more retro 8-bit.
Yeah, they need to look like the sprite.
We just need more bloom filters and shaders, dude.
I do think the most expressive it's ever been has been like Black and White 2, but still, same. I think you can still make one of those top-down grid-based like 2D-ish Pokemon games without going full like pixels again. I think you could just...
That's something I'm very passionate about. I think there is something about 2D kind of like interface 2D maps in video games, whether these side scrollers or just RPGs, that is very fun and very special to me, that I think shouldn't always be looked at something to just kind of like leave in the past. And I'm glad that I'm not alone, because it feels like a lot of people understand that's why like games like Undertale and Deltarune are so big.
And I don't even think you need to like go backwards, but I think if you're releasing, I mean, obviously now is not a good example, but if you're releasing a game every year, I see no reason why every other game can't be one that's like downscaled a little bit to be a little more simplistic. Even something like Let's Go, like I think that was, the more time we get from Let's Go, the more distance, the more I respect it more. It's kind of like
that's a good way of putting it. It's like, yeah, this kind of pisses you off when it comes out, but like now it's kind of like quaint.
It's the same thing as Super Mario 3D World. Is when it came out on the Wii U, it's not what anyone wanted because it wasn't a traditional like 3D Mario collectathon.
Yeah.
But now that we do have a proper 3D Mario collectathon in Mario Odyssey, it makes you respect 3D World more for what it is rather than what it isn't. And I feel the same way about Let's Go. Is now that we have, you know, fully fledged Pokemon RPGs on the Switch, I don't dislike Let's Go as much as I did. I do think it's kind of a cop-out to only have Kanto Pokemon in it, but I think it's fine for what abilities.
It is. Yeah, a lot of weird stuff.
I guess now would be...
that's actually a good way of putting it. Because, I think, especially when you kind of withhold a lot of elements like Let's Go did, and this is like supposed to be your big jump into the... new era, and it seems to be kind of like a half-hearted way. Maybe it wasn't half-hearted, maybe it actually worked, but the kind of what's it called, the Pokeball kind of like Pokemon Go style of catching Pokemon, there's a lot of weird decisions they made. All things considered, like I think the art direction was pretty good. I kind of wish Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl went for something like that as opposed to the weird chibi thing. I will say that I think Let's Go is still very much kind of the start of people getting kind of sick of Game Freak in terms of the way they develop games and the weird kind of habits they kind of will die over. You know what I mean? Because it's just and immediately after that we got Dexit, which I think was just a huge change in how people saw Pokemon. I think some people don't like Alola, but I never really had a problem with Alola. I think Alola's fine.
Well, that's like
I like turn-based RPGs. I like dialogue, so Alola didn't bother me.
Yeah, and also like I can't imagine the people that dislike Alola still dislike it, because the deal then is that it was, from their perspective, the worst Pokemon has ever been. And in the same perspective, it's gotten worse. Yeah, it's like when everyone's least favorite Scooby-Doo was the one that kind of looked like Family Guy. And since then there have been like 3 different Scooby-Doo adaptations that have like pissed people off way more. And it's like, you know what? That's not that bad. That's fine.
No, for sure.
It's like that. But I guess that's a good opportunity to move into discussing the Nintendo Switch 1 Direct. Just off the concept alone, the prospect of there being, there's no way, like I'm suspicious. There's no way that this could have been the plan from the beginning, because the first, like, the time they showed off the Nintendo Switch 2, I don't think this was in their playbook. I think there was a bunch of leaks, and then they're like, okay, fuck, we gotta throw together a video.
So?
I mean, The video was already done. I just feel like they were waiting super long for some reason.
I misunderstood you for a second. I thought you were saying that like this direct was cobbled together. I'm like, you think so?
No, but I do think that it's strange that you had between January and this upcoming Wednesday to release a Switch 1 Direct, and you release it a week before the Switch 2 Direct. And that can't have been the plan. I don't know what the plan was.
That's a good point, because even the Switch 2 trailer, maybe I just like, maybe it's just because we'd all kind of seen it at that point. I only ever watched it once, like the initial trailer.
Yeah,
like, I didn't even ever bother to rewatch it. Well, first of all, it wasn't even that interesting. Maybe I'm just not as young and naive as I used to be. But I remember when the Nintendo Switch 1 Direct came out, I was watching that shit over and over again. I literally named my channel after it.
Yeah. That's why it's called that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm glad it came full circle then. I actually didn't know that.
Okay, I thought you knew. But the idea was there was kind of like also like a joke where people kind of compare the Nintendo Switch controller to the face of a dog. So I had the idea of like kind of like something like that, and that's kind of where Switchy
like
came
the
from.
eye dog, the Frutiger arrow eye dog.
Yeah, the eye dog. So actually like really early designs of my like character actually had like black eyes that like looked like the joysticks, and where they were kind of offset. Anyway, I'm rambling. The point I'm making is that you know, what you had there was like this kind of much more elaborate production with like actors hired who probably had to sign shit.
Yeah.
The joke millennial rooftop parties and stuff. That was a whole.
Are you talking about the Switch 1 trailer or like the presentation?
The Switch 1 reveal.
Okay.
Reveal.
Because I remember the presentation that was like, they were hyping it up like, we're going to show off a bunch of stuff about the Nintendo Switch. And then it was ostensibly just a shareholders meeting for like an hour. I don't know if you remember that. But like he got on the stage and they're like, Just Dance is coming out.
Oh yeah. That's probably something. Well, actually, I think they called what we're getting a direct, so it's probably gonna be more like a direct.
Oh yeah, but like
I guess
whenever I hear like Switch presentation, that's always what I think, because I remember being excited and then watching.
Okay, yeah.
No, you're right.
That's my bad.
By the way, Twitch chat says Alola was the best games. Not gonna lie, music, Numon style, theme beat all the other ones. I don't know if it's the best. I don't hate it as much as other people do. I actually don't hate it at all. But I like it more than I like the Kalos games. I played the hell out of it. Like earlier, I said I transferred. Whenever there's a new generation, whatever game I get is like the hub, and I feel like I used Moon version as a hub way more than I used Y or White or anything like that. Like that's the one I played the most because you could keep going back and doing the Elite Four. I wanted to, because I had transferred all my Pokemon up previously and they were like celebrating the anniversary, I wanted to beat the Elite Four with all of my previous Pokemon teams. I wanted to level them up, and like getting the beans to level them up was fun. I loved it. I'd like it more than Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, ironically. That's not how I got my name. I actually stole it from Kirby.
I know a lot of people complain. I know a lot of people complain that Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, they kind of changed a lot of like meaningful story beats about the first games.
Yeah.
Also, I was just disappointed that like they said it was an alternate story, and I guess technically it was. I imagine when they said that it was gonna be a little bit more kind of like off the beaten path, but it was basically just like Platinum or Emerald. It was just kind of like a slightly enhanced version, but I think they actually took some stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Yeah.
Well, what I didn't like about it is how. I don't remember exactly. I could be wrong. The main thing I remember not liking about the Ultra games from a story standpoint is they tried to not redeem, but like downscale Lusamine a little bit, like make her a little more understandable, redeemable, and a better mother. And I didn't like that. I like more in Sun and Moon where she's just nuts.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I was saying.
Mm-hmm. The story changes
Team Rainbow
are the
Rocket
only bad
was
parts
cute.
of Ultra games.
Like it was dumb, but it was cute. Yeah, no, I'm like nostalgic for like Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon now.
Yeah.
What were we talking about?
We're talking about the Switch 1 Direct.
Reveal.
Oh,
I think it was just like and the Direct too. Basically the point I was making is that the Switch 2 like initial like show off, it didn't even feel like they were like that excited about showing it off. It was just kind of like, okay, like let's spin around this 3D model a little bit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's partially because of the leaks. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Just because, you know, I mean, you guys, we all know what it looked like by then. So trying to like get all kind of, you know, trying to make a big show of it, like, you know, like probably wasn't worth it. Yeah, I think they were.
That's what I'm saying is like with this Direct is Well, I don't know. I feel like I'm accidentally making a point opposite of what I was trying to say, is that it's weird that they did it now a week before the direct. Like, you would think that they would want to do it earlier, but I think if I had to make a theory for the reason they were trying to stretch out showing off the Switch 2 is, one, they wanted, before they move on fully to a new console, they wanted to get more sales of the Switch 1, because I'm pretty sure they're still releasing that golden Zelda Switch. No, that was last year. That was September last year. Because the Nintendo Switch is almost the best-selling video game console of all time. It's still number 2. I think it's a little bit behind
what, the Wii?
The PS2. Because they almost beat it, and then PlayStation, like Sony one day was like, oh, actually, we found 50 more units. It sold actually 100,000 more units. So I think they just didn't want to cut into the sales. And also, what we know now, I mean, we're talking about the Switch 1 Direct. What we know now, that there are major Nintendo releases. I mean, major in the form of, like, in the sense that they were made by Nintendo. Maybe not major in the grand scheme of, like, it's not a Mario or a Zelda. But there is a new Rhythm Heaven and a new Tomodachi Life, which are major to some people, which are games made by Nintendo that are releasing in 2026. And I think they knew that. I think that they knew those games were coming out in 2026. So they were waiting as long as they feasibly could to show off the Switch 2. And we know the Switch 2 is coming out in 2025, because that's the date listed in the presentation. But I've heard some people say June. I've heard people give, like, good reasoning for May. Because, like, one of the theme parks opens up in May, or like one of the museum things. Like, there's a bunch of stuff that coincides with May that people believed it would be May, and that's like when the hands-on events end is like mid-May. But I don't know. I think the fact that I think we're gonna get the release date in the Switch 2 Direct. We're just kind of chomping at the bit right now.
I would be extremely surprised if they didn't do that. I think it's basically like.
Well, we say that, but we've also, like, in the weeks leading up, been saying, like, oh, the only Switch 1 games we still know about, and now we know 4 of them instead of 2 of them. We have 4 Switch games in Metroid Prime 4, Pokemon Legends ZA, Tomodachi Life 2, or Tomodachi Life, what's it called? Live in the Dream?
Something like that, yeah.
I forgot that it even had a subtitle. Everyone's just been saying 2. And Rhythm Heaven Royale or whatever, that were given year releases but not release dates. Like, those are 4 Nintendo Switch games that do not have an exact date. And 2025 is this year.
Yeah. That's why I think they're kind of they're intentionally being a little tight-lipped about it, because they don't want to give people a timeline of releases right now.
But
no,
why?
At the same time, like, why are we like pretending it's going to be such an important mystery to keep when there's like 6 days between the 2 directs?
Yeah,
it's literally on Wednesday. Like, is it really worth kind of
well, the only idea is that, like, oh, maybe they think these, like, giving the release date, or maybe they legitimately don't know, which is even more concerning. But, like, because at least with Pokemon it said holiday 2025, which still isn't a release date, but it at least gives us a rough idea. Whereas Metroid Prime 4 still just says 2025, if I remember correctly, and, like, we're a fourth of the way through 2025. We would need to know ahead. I mean, maybe that's why they rolled out the Nintendo app, and I suppose we could talk about that. They showed off in this Direct the Nintendo Today app, and I have been doing my best to keep up with it. But all it is so far, if anyone that doesn't know, if I could just actually get to that point in the Direct over here. Do you have any reservations about this Direct? Anything that really caught...
Things I'm worried about?
Well, anything that caught anything. Anything that people haven't, like, traditionally covered. Maybe the Tamagotchi game. Anything that's... I'm glad they have chapters now.
I think the digital game card thing is kind of interesting.
We can...
I don't know what they're going to do with it.
Yeah. Well, if they... I hope they still... I feel like they over-explained what this is so much.
Think so?
Wait, so Twitch chat says, I think the backwards compatibility has let them be more lax when release dates. Says any new game will work for both. Yeah, it's not going to cut into their sales, and anyone that gets the Switch 2 will probably just play Metroid Prime and the new games on that anyway, which is good. But yeah, what they're explaining is like, oh, it's game share, and if you don't switch back for 2 weeks, then it just defaults back to the person who shared it. But they spend like a long time explaining. They make it seem so confused. Like the concept, it's just digital game sharing.
Yeah, is that a thing that other providers have let people do before? Because I've actually
okay.
Digital
game sharing, actually, because you could just log into, well, it's different from this. Like, it's not this exact format. On the Xbox, you could just log into your account on someone else's console and then download a game you own in the cloud into their console. But they have to be logged into your account, I think.
What the logistics of it are. I mean, I think it's kind of a cool thing because, you know, there have been times, you know, for example, I actually don't think I ever bought Brilliant Diamond or Shining Pearl. I think I just borrowed like my friend's copy and just played it on that, for example. So I think there's you know, there's something kind of nice about that as opposed to, oh yeah, you have to like, yeah, let me give you want to try this game out. Yeah, let me give you my username and password.
Right, I'm not using it right now.
You have to like send an SMS to my phone so I can let you use my. It's like, you know what I mean. So I think it's kind of cool that they're trying to create an avenue for that, something akin to it. I am very curious about the logistics and if it's even going to be worth it, though, to be honest. But you know, I think it's an interesting idea, but I think one thing that's going to be kind of annoying, if I'm understanding it correctly, is that if you have multiple Switches, there might be some kind of annoying logistics about that. But I doubt it's going to be like a huge problem.
Well, that's my concern, I suppose, is that if anyone didn't finish the Smash Bros. Video yet, I can't imagine a ton of people did because again, it is long, and I'll get into that later. But it's not even like a big spoiler, but I ended that video by unboxing and starting up the Smash Bros. OLED that I kept in box from the previous video, because I'm like, oh, we'll end this, and it's funny to open up the OLED now, like right before the Switch 2 comes out. And all the videos I watch of the tutorial is like how to transfer your account, and they all like selected the option to delete their account from their previous Switch and only have it on the new one. But on the OLED, I'm just like, oh, I'll just log in on this and then I'll have my account on both. And that works. You can just be logged in on two Switches.
Oh yeah, so what's the
point? And I
there?
assumed the Switch 2 would work like that. Like, oh, I could just use my account on Switch and like continue it into the Switch 2. But my concern rather is the fact that they're like hyping up the concept, or rather over explaining the concept, like, hey, you can transfer games between systems. I don't know, leads me to believe maybe that you will have to make a new account, like Switch 2 accounts are going to be different from Switch 1 accounts. Yeah. Because,
or at the very least, they might like be a little bit more strict about how you can access the stuff that's like registered to your account from different systems, which I think is going to be kind of annoying, but who knows.
Because you can already just download games you own on the cloud if you sign into a different Switch. Like, you can already do that. And I think I want to see actually if they have a link. I know on the Nintendo website, they show off information about the game cart switching, and I have to find it. So keep conversing about whatever we were just talking about.
Yeah. Well, other than that, I mean, going back to the Nintendo Today thing, it seems to be kind of an app that just tells you news about Nintendo. It shows you some art and stuff. It seems cute. Admittedly, I think I'm always kind of cynical about stuff like this. I don't really see it being supported that long, or I think people are going to get like, just stop caring about it pretty fast.
I think they're going to use it, but I don't think the average like person is going to use it. And what's strange is that the Switch, I think they're going to update it continuously, but I don't know if like the average person is going to keep checking it. And it's strange because there's already a news tab on the Switch.
Exactly. And that's what I'm curious about, I think. And also, I mean, they are definitely not going to like replace traditional social media outreach with this. Like, they're absolutely not going to do that. So it just kind of just seems like a slightly gimmicky app that doesn't really that doesn't really serve much of a purpose. I guess, you know, it'd be kind of nice to sometimes like see kind of a bird's eye view of what's happening in the coming weeks or months.
Yeah,
I can see that. I mean, it's like going to be like, oh yeah, this day has a new direct, or a little showcase, or an indies thing. You know, in that sense, I think there is something kind of useful about it, but I don't really see much value in it as like a thing that's actually like
this on the website. Just circling back to the game card sharing, says the virtual game card feature for Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch 2 system adds some flexibility of physical game cards to your digital game library. If you have two systems, you can digitally eject and load games from one system to another, and you can even lend games to members of your Nintendo account family group. That is us, which is good.
Yeah, well, that's kind of a limiting factor.
I'm trying to find it exactly. I can maybe find the tweet that like talked about it. Where is it? Yeah, this thing, if I can, that says this was on the website, and these are in asterisks. Available on Nintendo Switch, Nintendo Switch Lite, and Nintendo Switch OLED model systems in late April 2025. A system update is required to use this feature on Nintendo Switch systems, so it'll start rolling out in April. And then more asterisk, compatible systems must be linked to a Nintendo account to use virtual game cards. Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive games and Nintendo Switch 2 edition games can only be loaded on a Nintendo Switch 2 system. So, the differentiating of Nintendo Switch 2 exclusives and Nintendo Switch 2 edition games leads me and some to believe that one of the main selling points of the Switch 2 will be that you could play your Switch games and you can upgrade them as a Nintendo Switch 2 edition of a game. Because that was one of the main theories early on, is that one of the selling points would be like, oh, you could play like Breath of the Wild in 60 frames per second. Or maybe it'll make the new Pokemon game look better. You could still play it on the Switch, but it looks better on the Switch too. Same goes with Metroid Prime. So the belief
that being a thing they do.
is that there will be a rollout of something called the Nintendo Switch 2 Edition. Nintendo Switch 2 Edition games that are just Switch games that are upgraded or enhanced, graphically enhanced or expanded on the Switch 2.
Actually, that's really exciting. Yeah, I just saw it. Scarlet Plague drew a little doodle of us.
Oh, wait, where?
On X,
if you link it, I can bring it up.
Check it on
X the Everything app. On my X the Everything app? I don't know if I want to bring it up on the monitor quite yet. You never know what's going to show up on X.
Yeah. Should I send you the link then?
Yeah, if you got it.
Oh, yeah, I'll send it real quick. Yeah,
so we are...
click it, and there's some just, Nazi shit immediately.
Or Nazi shit, porn. You never know what it's like on Twitter.
Yeah.
But that's the information we have. So you're saying because the Nintendo Today app was what they ended the Direct with. People seem to believe they ended it with Tomodachi Life, which they did not do. They ended it with the app. And for anyone that's checking the app, I'm looking at it right now. It seems mostly like a calendar app where it'll let you know when major events are going to happen. All I've gotten from the app so far that's worth discussing or of interest are
Raise it again. Let me check the Nintendo Today app.
Yeah, okay. You know what? It's been a slow day. It just describes characters from games, because I checked every box that says you can do specific settings, but I checked every box. I'm interested in everything. And they're showing off posts about games that were in the Direct, and they're just trailers from the Direct. And then it all leads up to the very top of the screen is a countdown to the Nintendo Direct. It says 2 days to go, 7 days to go. I'm sure you guys have seen the image of Peach next to the 7, and the calendar changes. Doing that? Until the Direct happens, I guess.
Until this Direct, I assume, but I doubt they're gonna start doing. Maybe I don't know why they would. That means they're gonna start counting down Directs by the days.
Maybe. I feel like this is the first Direct, not this Direct, but the Switch 2 Direct is the first Direct in a while that we knew several for way more ahead of time. More often than not, Directs are announced the day before.
Yeah. And I've always liked that, to be honest.
This is the only post, or I guess there's been some Animal Crossing posts on the Nintendo Today app, and this is Pascal's daily word of wisdom. I haven't seen any other words of wisdom, so I don't know if they are daily. I've just seen the one. And this is your guys' weekly update. We're going to do the regular Nintendo Today updates every week. This is what I saw on the Nintendo Today app. They say, swing for the fences and go the whole 9 yards. But, what if you don't play hockey? And that was Pascal's...
Pascal's something.
Pascal's Pearls of Wisdom. I guess it isn't daily, just whenever he decides. And then there was a post of the age-old war between Inklings and Octarians. It's mainly just lore dumps. A lot of it from Splatoon and Xenoblade. Maybe some Zelda in there.
Oh, they're doing Xenoblade lore dumps?
There's some, today's, one of today's posts is a character analysis on Rex. Or not analysis, but just introducing who Rex is. But the Splatoon one from yesterday says, in this world, sea levels have risen due to environmental destruction and climate change. Surveying the state of affairs, a professor predicts the extinction of all humankind. He puts Judd, his cat, into a cryogenic sleep capsule to save him. I didn't know that part, so I'm learning lore about Splatoon from the Nintendo Today app. But there hasn't been any new information on the Nintendo Today app, at least not information that isn't also repeated elsewhere. And we can get into the information that's repeated elsewhere, but we should... I suppose we're not finished talking about the Switch 1 Direct, as we don't have a lot to say about Metroid Prime 4 Beyond.
Yeah, it looks fun, looks great.
I think it's strange, and we talked about this ahead of time, that I really did think we would get 2 and 3 remastered, because it's really weird that they only remastered the first one, and it still only says 2025.
Kind of frustrating me, to be honest.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know why they did that. Even if you want to do what they did for Pikmin, where they did Pikmin 3 Deluxe, and then they just ported 1 and 2 to the Switch. It's weird that you can only play Metroid Prime 1 remastered. And that's what I was saying earlier, is I don't think they're going to port GameCube games to NSO. I do think they'll either port or enhance them, quote unquote, because they're not going to remake them. All they do is just up-res the textures, which is fine. I had a great time with Metroid Prime Remastered. Although, Same. I've heard it's like the worst, like not bad, but the worst of the 3 Metroid Prime games. So I was excited to play 2 Remastered because, and I haven't played 2 on the GameCube or Wii with Wii Motion, not Wii Motion Plus, New Play Motion. Because I expected them to like remaster it on the Switch, but that ended up just not happening at all.
Yeah. That's actually a thing that's kind of bothering me, is that I'm just like I'm kind of not in the mood to like set up my Wii or Wii U to play Corruption. I'm just not kind of down for that right now. I played the first 2 games. I tried playing Corruption as a kid. I never finished it, but I'm just like not feeling like.
Did you play the Prime games as a kid, like when they came? Maybe not when they came out.
No, I first played Prime. I was probably like 17 or 18. Prime 2, I think I was 19. But yeah, I bought Corruption as a kid. I was like 9 literally, and I played like maybe the first like 3 or 4 hours of it, but never finished it because I got stuck.
I never even really knew that they existed as a kid, but then I got to a certain point where I did, and I didn't want to go back because I didn't love first-person shooters. But then I played Remastered, and I got stuck in some monotonous parts a little bit, but I enjoyed what I played of it. I mean, it is a Metroid game. I would still say I prefer 2D Metroid games because I really loved Dread way more. And even thinking back on that, like, it seems novel now to say, like, man, it's been 4 years since the last 2D Metroid, because like prior to that it had been like over a decade. But I know there were quote unquote leaks and speculation, which is just like someone's Reddit post or whatever, about the prospect of also getting a 2D Metroid within the same year as Prime 4. And their example was, well, Fusion and Prime 2 came out like the same week or the same month or something. But those were on different consoles. Those were on the Game Boy Advance and the GameCube. I don't foresee a 2D and 3D Metroid coming out on the same Switch.
It's like, oh yeah, these 2 games came out at the same time 20 years ago.
YouTube chat says Astrobot for Smash 6. He's been around for 12 years and should be the first Sony rep. Let me say something.
I'm down.
Because I always say this, and I love repeating myself.
Same.
I'm going to be a nerd about this. The internal team of Sora Limited and Masahiro Sakurai view Smash for 3DS and Smash for Wii U internally as Smash 4 and 5 respectively.
And it makes me mad.
Which means that Smash Ultimate internally is Smash 6. So the next Smash game we're discussing is technically Smash 7. I'm not mad about it. I'm not reprimanding, but this is something I love saying every time. Because I like being a fucking asshole, I guess. I like actuallying. Everyone always says Smash 6, but it's not.
Like, and they waited 6 weeks to drop it too, which is like, why? That was weird.
Yeah. Well, that's why they removed Ice Climbers from Smash for Wii U solely because it couldn't be on the 3DS as well.
Allegedly. I think there's a lot of conspiracy theories about that.
You think so? You think they were trying to kill Popo and Nana?
I think some people believe that it was actually like them trying to like keep the 8-player Smash thing secret, and they wanted to make it so that the Ice Climbers were actually not working in 8-player Smash. It wasn't actually the 3DS was a problem. But I mean, I don't know.
Well, there are like other strange changes that they haven't like. I don't want to say undone. I'm gonna sneeze actually. So you say something so they can't hear me sneeze. Talk about.
I'll like say something like, "Whoa, Ice Climbers!
Ice Climbers, baby!" All right, well, I didn't have to sneeze. That really pisses me off. Someone already said Smash 7, and I didn't want to be acting like I'm copying. Okay, well, you should be one ahead of the curve, and let's skip 7 and go right to 8. More like Smash 6.
Yeah.
What? You can't do that. But I mean, I feel like I'm holding back talking about Smash because I'm all smashed out right now, but
really? You're smashed out?
No, I'm not. I'll never be done talking about Smash Bros. I'm holding back because I know we're going to be talking about it a lot for the foreseeable future. And I can see I found myself often falling into this, not this trap, but every time I would play a Switch game as a part of the Nintendo Switch Kick the Bucket Countdown, which for those of you who only watch this podcast show, every Thursday I play a different Switch game leading up to the release of the Switch 2. And I've played a lot of Switch games that like I don't have a lot to say about. I'm going to sneeze now. This is pissing me off. God damn it. God damn it. God damn it. But I've been playing games that like, and you were talking about the Princess Peach game earlier. I also played that on stream. That like the only things I had to say about that game, it's like, man, They could have a new Peach moveset in Smash. Like every time I play a Nintendo game, it's just in the context of Smash where I'm like, this could be new for their character.
Oh, whoa, dude. What if they add the little yellow things into Mario Kart, dude? I'm all Mario Karted out, basically.
I'm down for Mario Kart speculation, and we'll get into that later. I mean, okay, well, let's see. What do we still have to say about the Nintendo Switch 1 Direct? We saw the ZA stuff. We weren't really listening as we were watching it, but the context or the stuff they were explaining in the ZA stuff is that it seems like it's primarily about battling, and every trainer you battle, you go up a rank a little bit. I freaked out when I saw a Panseer.
Yeah, the lovable elemental monkeys.
And I'm glad that you heard that. You initially thought that I was like, for whatever reason, just the monkeys
just like
number
a really
one fan.
Big fan of Panseer.
Which I am. I like semis, or I like Panseer.
Yeah, I love.
Or not Panseer. I like Panpage because again, I picked Tepig, so I have to run back Tepig and Pansage. But it seemed like the main
I might do that too.
When I first, you're gonna copy me?
No, because I rocked Tepig and Pansage when I first played white. Ooh. Or no, black.
Interesting. I picked white because I thought Zekrom was cool. But
Zekrom the one in white? I keep forgetting.
Yeah, it's weird, right?
I thought black was like
somebody was saying this earlier, but as I'm looking at the footage, you could see like the character portraits. Or at some point there's like a thing in the settings. I don't know when it is, but they said that or in one of these animations Chikorita uses disarming voice, I think, which is a fairy move that it could not previously do, which like lends to the Chikorita fairy agenda.
That kind of got me thinking if they want to do that, like if they want to do like something deranged and like evil, they could definitely give Chikorita Draining Kiss if they already did, make it a fairy type and give it the ability, or give Mega freaking Meganium the ability Triage, which I don't know if you know what that is. Basically, it gives every move that heals you priority. So like one Pokemon that has it is Comfy, and it's just annoying because it can just heal itself before you do anything. And this
thing right here, I think my head is even cutting it out, but in the top right, it says 0 wins, and it says 0 out of 3,000. I don't know if the tickets are the same as the win. This is where we see Pansage. But it seems like whereas Legends, the main gameplay loop was about catching Pokemon more so than it was Pokemon battles, I think that maybe ZA is the other direction where it's prioritizing battles because it has a wholly new battle system where you could just attack in real time. I'm sure once I have my hands on the game, I'll enjoy it way more. But so far what I've seen, maybe it's just because like in 2022, when it came to Legends Arceus and Scarlet and Violet, there wasn't a lot of other stuff going on beyond like Splatoon 3 that I wasn't like, I would never really a Splatoon fan before that game that I was like super into, that we know that this game, by the way, this guy's quote right here. They said in the trailer, whoever wins the ZA Royale gets to have their special wish granted. And this character Zach says, "I'm going to reach rank A and abolish all forms of transit in Lumiose except taxis." This guy's a psycho.
Dude, that's like some disgusting just like city planner shit.
Yeah, I do not want a walkable city.
I want to make sure it's as hard as possible to make this city like easy and comfortable. Like he's literally the enemy.
Yeah,
he's like a NIMBY menace.
I think we should make being homeless illegal. That's like your rival.
Well, your rivals. I think we need to build more. I'm gonna wish for more anti-homeless development. Like
my greatest wish.
I want more chairs with excessive armrests because I'm just a terrible person.
Yeah, and also seats on the bus that kind of lean forward so pregnant women can't sit down. Just anything to make the city better, you know.
Yeah.
Gonna fix everything up, but I forgot. Oh, and this is the. Have you ever played, or not? Have you ever played? But would you consider yourself a Rhythm Heaven fan?
I've never played it, but I'd probably like that.
I have it on my hacked 2DS. I don't know if you know this, but it's actually surprisingly easy to hack a 3DS.
Wow, dude! I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Is it actually is it useful and really beneficial to emulate stuff on your 2DS or 3DS?
Yeah, the very same.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
But again, the same conversation comes up that everything I know about Rhythm Heaven is in the context of Smash Bros. Speculation. I feel like I learned more about Rhythm Heaven through that than ever actually playing the games, or maybe watching streamers play it from time to time. But hey, now is our opportunity to get Rhythm Heaven character in Smash. Now that it's although I don't play all of them, or I try and do my best the purpose of the Kick the Bucket countdown is to go back in older Switch games, because the Switch came out and existed before I started making videos. It was like a couple years before, and even and way before I started streaming like regularly. So I'm several games behind. But when it comes to the Switch 2, I'd like to do what I'm doing now with the Switch, where like every major Nintendo made game, I'd like to at least give a fair shake, even if it's like I played fucking Famicom Detective Club last year, and I played it for 3 hours. It was a visual novel. Like it you know, it's not my thing. It's not awful, but I don't really care for it. I think it's cool on concept alone that they made a new Famicom Detective Club game.
Yeah.
Because I knew that series existed for a while.
Famicom Detective Club before a new F-Zero. It's kind of fun to see games like that come out.
Yeah.
That's why I was kind of like rooting for it, even though I never played it.
Right. Well, that's why I was saying, or what I was going to say, is that there's major Nintendo release that I like the prospect, because I'm assuming that the Switch 2 is just continuing the lineage and is a continuation of Switch 1. That like, as far as all the major games and series that Nintendo has made, we're pretty decent on the Switch right now. Like, even as far as Mario spin-offs, I think the only ones we're missing are Sluggers and like a Square Enix basketball game, right? That was always the defining characteristic of the basketball games, is for whatever reason they were always, even the ones that didn't have Square, like Final Fantasy characters, were still co-developed by, wait a minute, sorry. Okay, that's just Fire Emblem Engage. I thought that said Mario Kart something. I freaked out for a second.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Do you think, because they just showed us on Nintendo Switch Sports, do you think there's a chance that instead of getting sequels, that a lot of Switch 1 games will just continue to get DLC on the Switch 2?
Oh, that's a good question. I think they probably won't do that. I think the reason is because unless they like start releasing outwardly monetized DLC, like, oh, okay, here's we need $20 for an expansion to like XYZ game. I could see that being the case. Otherwise, if like, I know we were talking about the editions earlier, like Nintendo Switch 2 editions, I could see them going back and adding updates to certain games that let you play like at higher resolution or higher frame rate.
Yeah.
On the update. I think I didn't think about that, but now that like that's in the discussion, I think that's definitely a thing that they like. It seems pretty easy to do, especially because nowadays it's easy to kind of just like, you know, increase the max FPS or whatever.
And you even see like people emulating Switch games. They're like, look, this is what Scarlet Violet could look like.
Yeah, at 1 billion FPS. Oh, 144 Scarlet and Violet.
They need more bloom in there.
Yeah, no, I just made some custom shaders for Scarlet and Violet.
Right. But no, and then you watch the video and the character's barefoot.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't remember the character like having you know,
they're like way inflated.
Yeah. Whoa. What happened to Pikachu? But anyway,
looking like this.
So I think that is something they could probably do without too much issue. I think that'd be a fun kind of way to sell the Switch, because there were some games that were like ran pretty modestly that kind of sucked. I kind of wanted to play like that one of the Kirby games at like 60 FPS, but we couldn't or whatever. I think that's a good idea. And I doubt though that they're gonna make new content updates to games unless they charge for it, because that's the thing Nintendo's never seemed to be really willing to do, is like release a game and then support it with new content for more than like a year or two. You know what I mean? I think the only exception, now that I think about it, is Mario Kart 8, which they kind of just like 4 years into the Switch 2. I mean, the original Switch. They're just like, hey, you guys want like twice as many Mario Kart courses? And
the reason
like, that was like a very non-Nintendo thing to do.
Well, the reason I bring it up in the context of Nintendo Switch Sports is a DLC doesn't necessarily have to mean paid DLC, just like any downloadable content, like an update. Is that I remember like Nintendo Switch Sports came out in 2022, and then there was a Direct in 24, like I think June 24 or something. They're like, we're adding basketball to the game, and I'm like, I forgot this even existed. Like, I think there's a chance they just, instead of, I would rather, I guess is what I'm saying, instead of making a new Mario Strikers or a new Mario Tennis or a new Mario Golf, just continue to update those games to incentivize people to go back to them. I wouldn't be against it. You would be against it?
I wouldn't be against that.
Oh, you
wouldn't?
I wouldn't
be against it. And actually, this is probably a point of contention between us. I probably would be fine. I think I just, I remember a big point of discussion when Smash Ultimate was coming out is that we would never have a cast of characters that big again. And that always was like kind of depressing to me. I don't even know if that's necessarily true. If it is, then it is.
Yeah.
But that was always kind of a thing that bummed me out about the idea of whatever would come after Smash Ultimate might have to, leave a lot of stuff out. And I guess I've never been a fan of things being left out. That's what kind of bothered me so much about 4 and Brawl. They get rid of, I remember 4 not having Lucas really devastated me at first. So I guess because of that, I've always been a I'm kind of partial to the idea of Smash Bros. 4 just getting a couple more years of DLC. I think it's because I like the idea of game just being kind of tweaked over a long period of time as opposed to just kind of like rebuilt from the ground up.
Are you talking about like people playing Smash Ultimate backwards compatible and then gets updates and DLC on the Switch too? Are you talking about like an Ultimate Deluxe that's released on the Switch too?
Either. Just something that's very clearly built on top of Smash Ultimate. I guess people might argue that Smash Ultimate was kind of clearly built off of 4.
Well,
even more like it's
my issue with that is that the Switch 2 is already backwards compatible. Like the reason we got Hyrule Warriors and Pokken and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, like all those deluxe games, is because you couldn't play those Wii U games on the Switch. And then we got games early on, the likes of Splatoon 2 and Mario Maker 2. I don't think on a console that is backwards compatible that you need to have a deluxe package like that, because you can just play Smash Ultimate on the Switch. It is, although I do view it as a continuation of the Switch lineage, I do think it's just like Mario Kart time for a new game. And in the context of, it might just be us because like, time moves a lot slower when you're a kid, and we're like, the difference between like 8th grade and 9th grade feels like night and day. Whereas like, if I think to like 3 years earlier, although like even like a year before this, I'm like, man, I was doing this wrong. I didn't know how to stream in this frame rate. Like you're always learning things and you don't notice the passage of time in real time. But the reason I released the teaser for my Smash video when I did is because February 16th, 2025 is the longest time without a new Smash game. The gap,
which is crazy to think about.
Yeah, exactly. The gap between Ultimate and now, like if we're talking about even Ultimate being built on top of Smash 4, even that is like an entirely different game. That was only like, Bayonetta came out at the tail end of 2015, so like 3 years.
Yeah.
And if we're counting DLC, the final DLC character was October 2021, so even then would be something 2024. My issue with a deluxe package is, or rather, I disagree with the interpretation or the hypothesis that you can't go anywhere more up from Ultimate, when the way I view Ultimate is that although it did bring almost everything back, it brought all the characters back, it brought back almost all the stages, a lot of assist trophies and music, is that as far as new content goes, if we're just looking at base roster, counting Echo Fighters, we got 3 new stages and 7 new characters, which is the least amount of any Smash game. I think if whatever the Switch 2 Smash game is, focuses on Nintendo characters, like returning Nintendo characters, maybe cuts a decent amount of roster, I'm okay with that because I could still play Smash Ultimate on the Switch 2 if I want to play. Because as a kid, I never owned a GameCube. I was really into Brawl. And then I heard that like, oh, there's a Smash game that's like Brawl except Mewtwo's in it. And I'm like, holy shit, I want to play that game. So I just went out and bought Melee and then played it on my Wii with like one of those Mad Catz Wavebirds that barely worked off of batteries. If anyone is upset that like Banjo gets cut, they could just play Ultimate on the Switch too. Similarly, even if you're making a deluxe package, you still need to organize the rights of all the individual characters. And
you're right. That's a good point.
If even one company is like, no, we don't want Richter in this game, then there's no point to just do Ultimate Deluxe if it has one less character. I don't think any of those companies would do that. I don't think like any of the companies would be like, no, we don't want this character in Smash anymore. But I think if you're already running that risk, I see no reason to not make a new Smash game, because 1, it's been the longest amount of time. 2, you can still play Smash Ultimate on the Switch.
Yeah.
And 3, like I think if you focus on adding more new things than bringing back old ones, because I've seen so many people overcorrect and say like for a new Smash game, if they want to make a new one, we got to do like a full reboot. We got to change like everything. We got to make it maybe an entirely different game. I don't have issue with them redoing the original 12 characters like movesets a little bit, but because there's a lot of characters, like we said earlier that like all I know about Rhythm Heaven is in the context of Smash Bros, and you said earlier like, oh, we have more of this game than we have F-Zero games. At this point, Captain Falcon is more of a Smash Bros. Character than he is an F-Zero character. Similarly, like, because I'm a Smash fan, I understand the argument of why people want him to be more accurate. But something like Smash Ganondorf, I kind of don't want them to change him that substantially, because, like, that's like changing,
he's developed an identity of his own.
Yeah, that's like changing, like, Sub-Zero's moveset. It's like, well, then it's not... He's been in this game for so long. This is just Smash Ganondorf. That's just the way he is.
Uh-huh.
And now
that's a good point as well. And that's one thing I think they kind of rectified with Link specifically in Ultimate, is they kind of were willing to kind of play with him a little bit. But they also tried to rectify it, I think, with the inclusion of Young Link and Toon Link, which still had more classic Link kind of inspired movesets.
Yeah, that's my argument in the case of, like, not having a deluxe package. And I guess, like, I don't know how long. I think these games on average take about 3 years. I think the belief, because, like, Smash 4, I think, or Smash 4 Wii U, sorry, was the previous holder for the longest amount of time between games, because it was easier to go from Melee to Brawl because it was basically the same engine, whereas Smash 4 for Wii U, they were building in HD for the first time, so they had to start from scratch. And Brawl got delayed a bunch for several reasons, one of which is to get Sonic into the game. Like, they delayed that game like twice. But I don't think, on average, that although we view them as, like, these massive games, that Smash games take that long to develop. I think 3 years is a decent amount of time to make a major Smash game. And I think Sakurai said, like, at the end of his last video that, like, he started a new project proposal in 2022. We'll get more into predictions later, but I'm not going to say it for sure, but I don't think there's a 0% chance. There's a non-zero chance that we get something akin to Inkling's Eye looking at the Smash Ball. Like, I don't think we're going to see anything major, but I think if they want to show Smash for Switch 2, that they would do a little teaser like that, maybe.
Yeah. I guess maybe it's because I'm just kind of biased by the Switch 1 timeline. I think they might want to wait, like, 6 months to a year for it. Yeah. Just because I think for me, I guess we're kind of like moving into this now.
Right.
I think what I'm most locked in on, or maybe it's because I hope for it, I think a new 3D Mario is, if I had to guess anything we're going to see as, like, the big thing this year, it's going to be a 3D Mario.
Yes. I agree with you.
And because of that, I think, like, they might be a little reticent to show off Smash as well, because I think, you know, part of the struggle with just maintaining a console is keeping things interesting and kind of spacing things out, because they not, instead of just, you know, showing us everything in one go and then just not having anything fun to kind of tease fans with for a couple of years. I feel like Nintendo was really cognizant about not doing that. So I think
in the middle of a console generation, I agree with you. But the fact that they still have to, like, sell a lot of people on the Switch 2. I mean, we forget, this Switch 1 Direct, they showed off Tomodachi and Rhythm Heaven, and those have 2026 release dates. Like, when I'm saying that we could see something, like, I agree with you that 3D Mario will be the big holiday game. But when I'm saying we could see other games, I'm not saying, like, oh, they'll come out along 3D Mario. I think they could come out next year, even the year after. I don't think they'd be, like, against showing it, though.
That's a good point, actually, now that I think about it, because I think if the most recent Nintendo Switch Direct is anything to go off of, I think they might be loosening their it seems that they started a habit of being really careful about I think they started wanting to announce games not too far before their release dates, instead of announcing games 1-2 years in advance. But
they really fucked up with Metroid Prime 4.
Yeah, Metroid. I think they probably did it because of Metroid Prime 4.
Yeah.
Maybe not. But it seemed that for a while, especially like late 2010s and early 2020s, they developed a habit of usually announcing games like at the most 6 to 7 months before they released it. And now we're getting 2 games relatively early on in the year being announced, like for next year. Along with, Legend ZA, which is another huge outlier where they're like, hey, look at this game that we're not going to release for, I guess, 18 months or so.
Yeah.
Which is definitely a weird thing to think about. I think that's kind of outside of what Nintendo's forte has been for a couple of years.
I know this isn't an apt comparison because it's been so long, and it's also like a game that probably got delayed, is that I remember in one of the first Switch presentations or Switch Directs, they showed off like, oh, we have a new Yoshi game coming out, and it was just titled Yoshi. I talk about this in the new Smash video. They just said Yoshi, and then Yoshi's Crafted World came out in like mid 2019, and it was shown off in the first Switch trailer. By the way, real quick, YouTube chat just said Summer Games Fest 100% will show the real launch titles. No fucking way. I don't agree with that at all. I think Nintendo, every time they're given the opportunity to host their own presentation, they will always take it. And now that they are free from the confines of E3, I don't think they're ever going to go to a different showcase. I think they'll continue doing their hands-on presentations, maybe around the same time as PAX, like they did either last year or the year before, but I don't think they're going to have anything to show at the Summer Games Fest. I think that's primarily like Western developer stuff.
Yeah, it seems that kind of like everyone does things at the same time. That's just a culture. That's not a thing anymore.
I mean, I think there's a chance we could... Prior to this, I was going off the assumption, and last year kind of put a buckle in that a little bit, a hump, that throughout the entire Switch's lifespan, like everyone was always like, oh man, when are we going to get a Direct next? And it always bugged me because for 5 years in a row, it was always February, June, September.
Yeah.
And I don't know why people were like, oh man, I wonder when it's going to be next. It's like, what do you mean, man? It's going to be in June.
September Direct in.
Yeah. I remember, I think it's in the Smash, it's just because I finished the Smash. I guess I could discuss this now for the next topic real quick. Because we just covered virtual game carts in the Nintendo Today app. Oh, well, hold off. Did I open up? Yeah, my own video. Let me put this here. Sorry, it's self promotion, self preservation.
Oh.
Well, I'm just... I don't think it works like that.
It doesn't even work that way.
I don't think so. Oh, this is linking to the Twitch account. This is good. It comes full circle. That the reason I scheduled it like this, and it's kind of serendipity in the way that, like, I wanted this video to come out at the end of February, and then I had to push it back. That it ended up that this major Smash video, this major, like, saying goodbye to the Nintendo Switch in a way, which is kind of what the video doubles as, and me starting the YouTube channel, and me talking about the first podcast I ever made in 2019 transitions perfectly into this podcast and then also into the Switch 2 Directs. I think it works out. It's a week of events. So I don't really have a lot to say about the video because everything I've said is in the video or it will come up within the stream. Like if I have something to say, I'll just bring it up. And that's why I brought up Yoshi. But that's really all I have to say about it. If you guys haven't seen it, I would consider checking it out. It's long. That'll be also like what the podcast acts as secondarily, because we're talking about game stuff. We'll also secondary talk about cartoons and movies probably. I won't for a while because April is going to be very busy, but once I pick back up in like May, maybe, I do go to the theaters every week, every Friday to see a movie. So I'll come back every Monday podcast and I can give a little movie review for the films I saw that weekend. But also, like, you know, we're both YouTubers. We're working on YouTube videos. We can both... I think you openly discuss the videos you're currently working on more than me. I like to keep it close to the chest because I like doing video teasers. So I never, like, say what I'm working on until I release that video because I kind of like them to be a surprise. And I posted a teaser for this Smash video on the 16th, which was the longest time without a new Smash game. And I thought most of the people saw it, and then I would like post screenshots from this video as I was editing it. And people on X, the Everything app, we're saying that ironically, by the way. I don't fuck with it. People would be like, oh my God.
Just so we're all...
Yeah, just so you guys are aware. All right, we've been on Twitter longer than we've been alive. But... people were like responding like, oh shit, next video is the Smash video. It's like, yeah, man, I said this. Like I did announce that.
Yeah. So I think in general, a lot of fans don't actually pay that much attention. That's not like me digging at them. I think a lot of people, if you're not super direct with them, they kind of will just perceive something as sort of like background noise. Yeah. So they don't really that's why some people were saying like, I didn't know you guys know each other. And I'm like, we've like cameoed in like 4 of each other's videos.
Right. Or even when people like on when people ask in the comments or like replies like, hey, when's the next video? It's like, well, the end of the month. Like it has been for 3 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, some months I don't, but for the most part, it's the end of each month. And I'll say that like, it's been like that for a while. But I never wanted to have like a strict release date because, you know, there's a chance it could be late. And I don't want
me too.
To have that like set in stone for sure in case it gets delayed, which they do sometimes if exporting takes a while. But
yeah, I know.
I don't.
I've seen you kind of have to deal with that before.
Yeah, I agree with you because like even one of my New Year's resolutions this year was to like actually keep up with my sub feed. And it's been really difficult to like watch everyone's videos because I really love YouTube. I do genuinely like, I don't want to shill for a company, but I do legitimately like love YouTube. I'm on it most of my life. I'm on YouTube, even if it's just like background noise. Like I've been on it since I was a kid. This is where I live, basically. So I understand. Like, I want to engage with my sub feed. So sometimes, and I know people mean well, that there's a lot of YouTubers that have kind of framed themselves as victims because they're not doing as well, that, like, clearly there's something afoot. It can't just be me. And I know that my fans really mean well, but sometimes they reach out and they're like, oh, or they'll comment on a video and be like, oh, shit, I didn't see this in my sub feed. Like, I think you might be shadow banned. It's like, no, I think you probably just missed it in your sub feed.
I think you just weren't like paying that much.
Right, which is like fine. Like if you have a lot, I have a lot of stuff on my sub feed too. Sometimes I miss videos, but you're not being shown my videos because like someone at YouTube wants me gone. It's just because like you missed it. Like that's just how it works sometimes.
It is interesting though that nowadays most people see videos through their just like base recommendations. I'm kind of interested in how like
they just go off their algorithm.
So yeah. So I like even like nowadays a lot of my videos, it seems that like even in the first couple of hours most of the views just come from like front page recommendations as opposed to subscription feed. I think a lot of people just don't really check that anymore. Yeah, I usually just kind of mindlessly scroll it to be like, oh, is there anything I'll watch later, a couple videos. Kinda,
I do my best to like post it in the Patreon Discord server, and I have a subreddit, and like on Twitter and even on TikTok and Reels. Like I do my best to let people know that there is a new video. And then after that, like after that video's up, I'm like, I'm washing my hands of this. Like I've seen other people like a week or so after do like a community post to be like, hey, this video is out. But like once a video is out for me, I'm done with it basically.
Okay.
Even though I seem to have a lot to say about this. But have you formally announced like the next thing you're working on? Do you want to discuss that at all?
Pocket Tail. Yeah, no. So like I'm actually almost done with the basic script. It's actually, I wasn't expecting it. It's longer than the All-Star script in terms of word count. So it's probably gonna be like 4.5 hours, which I'm kind of excited about. Also not that excited about. But yeah, no, I mean, it's gonna take a fucking long ass time to make. So I guess every single week I'll literally just say, still editing the Pocket Tail video.
Yeah, still working hard. Well, that's the thing is that sometimes if you don't say something, people will just assume you're not working.
Yeah.
Which is frustrating. And that's the thing is that like I stream and then as soon as I get off stream, I go edit again. So that's why like I feel like I can't ever take substantial breaks between videos because I worry someone will come on stream and be like, hey, wait, you're streaming instead of making a video? It's like, no, I'm streaming and I'm making a video. But I think it's what we said about open world games, about density is more important than vastness. I think I understand why. There are a lot of people that dislike the prospect of long videos because, not naming names, but there are other creators on the platform that like make quote unquote video essays that is just like reading a Wikipedia page or giving an episode synopsis of a show. And I talk about shows sometimes and I try and do my best to actually give analysis or at least be funny about it. Like it has some kind of entertainment. But I would be upset if anyone ever criticized my long videos as a choice, because at no point have I ever been looking at a video or a script and be like, oh shit, how do I make this longer? I just write a script. And then once the script is done, I don't edit my scripts, which is probably why the videos are so long. But I feel like that kind of gives me
the only thing I really like intensely do is if I find myself using a word like an annoying amount of time, I kind of try and sometimes rewrite sentences. And I think actually, I think what I do instead of editing is sometimes I just stew over like an empty page for a while until I think I have like a fun way of saying something. But I'm not much for like, oh, let me like rewrite this entire thing because I just want to be miserable, you know?
Yeah, I do think there are like, because I see people on Twitter, and maybe it's just hater energy that I'm seeing too much of, but I don't think long videos intentionally are like that. What depends on who you're talking about, nor are they like the prospect of you saying about your 4-hour All-Star or Pocket Tail video, because it's going to be longer than the All-Star one, is that your video is going to be dense. It's 4 hours because there's so much you want to fit into it. And I think the issue with longer videos is that if it's like a video game open world, like if it doesn't have density in it. If it's just fluff, then it doesn't need to be that long. Whereas maybe I'm just speaking for myself, but I just talk until I don't have anything left to say. I never try and make it like I want this video to be 8 hours. It just kind of turns out like that. I actually don't like when
Interesting. I was going to actually ask you about that now that you say that. Sorry, what were you going to say?
Oh, I don't want to say like I don't like when it happens, but like I'm kind of, if a video is longer, it means I have to do more work. I don't want them to be longer. Like ideally they would all be like 2 hours.
Yeah, well, I'm curious because it looks like your newest Smash Bros. Video is kind of a similar length to your last one. So that wasn't intentional, or do you think you just kind of had like a similar groove?
Well, it's more of a template based, like the way I'm covering the format.
Yeah,
is that instead of being like, oh, I'm gonna cover all the major leaks that happened in this year period, is that I write about each week as like a chapter of the video. So there are some weeks where not a lot happens beyond like a Famitsu translation, and then I talk about that for a little bit. Because the way I wrote the video, I started writing it in like September, October, where every day I would study that week and then write about that week. And I put together a playlist of old videos of like what people were saying at the time. So it's less about like, okay, I want to talk about 2019. I'm going to start typing on a page. It's more I put together a Sheets document of everything that happened each individual week, and then I took it week by week, which is why I think they turned out that long.
Yeah.
And
I think for me with the
the same thing applies to like shows. We've never been good at like, I'm going to write a video and then I just like go until I'm done. I need to divide. Like if I have a month to finish a video, so I will divide it by a month. It's hard to do that. So if I'm talking about a show, I'm like, okay, this show has 60 episodes. I will write about 2 pages a day, which is why my videos are more about like there's a transition for each episode as opposed to talking about the show as one thing. What were you going to say?
Well, actually, it's kind of fun just talking to other YouTubers about their process, especially when it comes to just like the big process. I guess just the way of getting an idea to something on paper. I think the reason my videos have gotten longer is because not because I've like been like I want this to be longer. I want a longer, more obtuse video for people to watch. I think mostly it has to do with me just wanting to say more things as I've kind of talked to more people and had more people see what I had to say. I feel like I think, the earlier videos, I'd be like, I don't really need to talk about this challenge that much. I think nowadays, especially when talking about seasons that I admittedly do not like, I do not like Pocketail Island. I kind of want to really be thorough about all the things I do like and all the things I don't like. So I think I just kind of talk and give my opinion on a lot of details that to be fair, aren't that important.
Right.
But regardless, I still are I guess for people might not be important, but I think for me and kind of really not leaving stones unturned is kind of important to me. So more things are important to me now, and I think that's why videos have gotten longer. I also use making videos as an excuse to focus on something for a month. So if it's like a show that like I haven't gone back to, a lot of videos on my channel just exist because like, oh, I want to watch this video, but I would be bored just sitting and watching it, so I think I would rather write about it. That's what the Clone Wars video is that I watched 2 episodes a day, and it helped me focus on each individual episode, because instead of being like, oh, I should watch the show, it's like, oh, this is my job for the month. I need to watch the show intently. And that's what the next video is going to be. It's going to be a surprise. The only people who know right now, I believe, are Switchy, Quentin, and Nintendo, because I needed some assistance on something. But that's more of what the next video is going to be, is like a show that I vaguely remember that I'm like, oh, I want to go back to the show and see if I remember any of it actually. And then that's what the video is. It's more of like a watch along in a way, but I feel like I have more to say. Yeah. Do you plan in advance what you do throughout the year, what you do next, or is it just like I need to do the pocket? Okay, so do you have any ideas of what you want to shit? Do you have any ideas for what you want to do after Pocket Tail? That's actually a good question. Honestly, it's depressing to say because it feels like I've fallen off. I think I might have to like change the format of doing videos, in the sense of like I think like spending 6 or 7 months on like one video just isn't like a thing I can do anymore. Okay. Or at least at the very least, I'll probably have to like just start doing shorter videos that aren't as like intense, just because I kind of. For when I first started, the idea of just like disappearing for a long period of time and then just, oh yeah, here's this like behemoth of a video that's like incredibly like very meticulously edited and kind of decorated. Like that was fun for a while. I think if I ever do what's it called, Redonkulous Race, I think I'm open to doing it, but I might just like not call it a comprehensive roast and just maybe like do like 6 episodes at a time or something.
That'd be
because
fun.
I kind of
Radical
want
Soda style.
And yeah, no, I like actually when I actually have never watched those videos. I actually haven't watched Quentin reviews, what's it called, his Dan Schneider reviews. But it seems that like he like basically like does like the whole show, but maybe like a few episodes at a time. I might just do something like that for the sake of my own sanity. And I think that like that just being able to kind of space it out and things being a little bit more approachable is probably going to be like. I don't want to like, you know, be too down in the dumps because I think I do enjoy it enough that it is fun to make these videos. But
yeah,
I think you know, doing like dropping these behemoths now and then, it's not as fun as it used to be. It's not fun enough to like justify like all the annoying things that come with it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And when people talk about well, no, in the context of YouTubers, especially, like, it's a miracle that we are able to do what we do. Like, for me, it's a dream come true. It's all I've ever wanted to do. So it feels uncouth to complain. And anyone who doesn't make content, I don't want to say wouldn't understand, but, like, they don't want to hear about, like, money troubles or whatever. Because, like, if somebody, especially if, like, anyone who subs to my Patreon or like or donates on stream or is a channel member or is like subbed here, like if they're paying me a lot of money, they don't want to hear me being like, oh man, this shit's not great right now. But for me, it's like, it's not about like, oh shit, I'm living paycheck to paycheck. It's the marketplace of time. It's not that like I need money bad. It's more that the reason I'm able to create videos like this every month is because this is all I do. And from a realistic standpoint, if I ever have to get an additional job, I will have to do this less and less. Exactly. And I imagine it's the same thing for you. It's a marketplace of time where you can only dedicate so much of your time to something, which is partially why I don't like saying pump these out, because then it sounds like so assembly line, like they're slop. All my videos mean something to me, but I don't know how much longer. Like, you never know what's going to happen in your life. You got to live every day like it's the last one, especially on the internet. There's so much I want to do, and I view like there's so little time. Like, there's so many videos I want to make. I'm always thinking, like, even an additional year ahead, like, shit, I want to do this so bad. But in the context of what you just said about, like, splitting series into parts, is this Smash video that's on the background right now, I didn't go into it thinking, like, oh, this will be the second part in a trilogy. I got, like, halfway through it, and then I'm like, oh, I'm not going to be able to write the second Fighter's Pass. Like, I got to the end and realized this is the longest thing I've written in a while. If I want this video to be out by a certain point, I have to cut it off. And that's why when I just talked about the Clone Wars video, I talked about the first 2 seasons in that video. For some things, you just have to, in the Bray Wyatt video, anything that's like the first part, it's not because I wanted to split them in parts, it's because as I was working on it, I understood that I would not have enough time to finish it. So I think it's worth doing. But I think because, and another quote-unquote spoiler for the Smash video, but I showed off my 100,000 subscriber plaque that apparently have been, like, downscaled since they used to be, like, silver fucking rocks or whatever.
Are the plaques lame now, dude? Are the plaques suck
They're
now?
not lame, but, you know, it's cool that I have one. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's just like, is this trophy of your success, like, not a good trophy?
No, I like, well, I don't really, that's what I wanted to say, is I don't really care about the number, and I think maybe, like, whenever people are afraid to approach me on social media, or, like, if I ever complain about, like, oh, man, like, this, not complain, but, like, discuss, like, oh, man, I gotta foster donations a little bit, because I just spent a lot on streamer on a video, and I need to make that back somehow. I think people believe that I'm more famous than I am. Like, they see 100,000 subscribers and assume that I have 100,000 fans. Whereas I don't think that's true. I would say I have 10,000 really dedicated people that will watch me talk about anything. And that is what matters to me the most, is that every video I make will at the very least have 10,000 subscribers or 10,000 viewers. And when nobody was watching, I was like ecstatic that even 1,000 people would watch. So for me, I'm glad, I'm incredibly fortunate that I made this decision. That early on when the Izzy video blew up, I had the opportunity. I could either like continue making theory videos that I wasn't super passionate about to foster that audience. I could probably get 1 million subscribers from that. But instead, I turned around and made like a different video and it got like 10K views. But because of that, I can kind of, I'm not chained to anything. I could talk about whatever I want, and there will still be people who will watch. There are people who are fans of me. And I'm incredibly fortunate in that. By the way, not implying that, like, for whatever reason, I know you're incredibly passionate about yours, but if at any point, I think people like you. I think the Switchy sisters love what you do. And I think if at any point you're like, I don't want to do Total Drama anymore, I believe that they will follow you if you want to mix things up a little bit. Like, I think you always have something interesting to say.
Yeah, and I don't think it's really ever going to be an issue of, like, not wanting to talk about the show in any capacity. It's more just, like, is it really something that's just, like, long-term, what's the word, just feasible to continue kind of investing this much, especially because as much as I hate to say it, I don't think YouTube's ever going to really sustain itself as a full-time job for me. Like, it's just like, unless I totally change my style, which maybe I could do it in that sense, but like, you know, I think what I have right now are very rigorous, kind of niche, but still popular videos. So because of that, I think, you know, if my life changes where I cannot devote the amount of time I devote, I probably just kind of just do things a little bit more bite-sized for a while just to get my bearings again. One thing I've considered is that, like, for example, I don't think I'll do like I definitely want to talk about Dramarama at some point, because I think although like Dramarama is like really just a lot of things to say about Dramarama, like it definitely isn't really worth. I don't think I'd really get much out of going episode by episode, first of all, and also, but that being said, I think it's just such an interesting pocket in the show's history that just kind of watching it and kind of giving maybe like a 30 or 40-minute video about it, like I think that's totally feasible. I think it'd be fun. So I think like once the Pocketail video is done, that's probably what I might shift gears to for a while, just because it's a little bit more, you know, feasible. Because, you know, I mean, I think like I don't want to, maybe I shouldn't talk too much about my personal life, but I'm probably gonna go back to college for a little bit.
That's so exciting.
When I'm like pursuing a master's, like, you know, I think I very well might be in a situation where, you know, 4-hour video is just not a thing I can do in the same amount of time as I can now.
But then it'll feel like a much bigger event where there's like, oh shit, Switchy upload. Because like there are some major quote-unquote video essayists that legitimately just upload a big video a year. And then everyone like gathers around like, oh shit, we gotta watch this video. Yeah,
and that's kind of what I went for a while, but I think it's just I think like it just kind of you kind of get lost in waiting for all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, yeah, for me, like I imagine you're the same way, that
more bite-sized for a while.
There's so much you want to do that you're like, I don't want to wait a year. Or at least that's how it is for me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think also it's just like you know, there's kind of the idea of like, oh wow, yeah, so this is gonna be like the most like what's the word, the most integral part of my life, this one video for the next like 5 months,
right?
That it's kind of like a little bit draining sometimes, I'll admit. Like,
yeah,
so just seeing if it, going away from that for a little bit, just to see how that changes me, how I feel a little bit different. Because, you know, for example, just last week, you know, I did a thing I don't usually do, and it's something that I feel like I probably would have benefited from doing. It was kind of a dumb restriction to put on myself. I made a 10-minute video about a lot of the cancellation rumors about the show, and I just kind of ground that out in 2 days. And I wish I did stuff like that more often, because like I still think it's like a meaningful video. It's not like something that I think is like supposed to, you know, be watched for years and years, but I don't think like my integrity as a YouTuber is hurt because I did it. And I think it's still like, you know, it's commenting as a figure in this show's community that I think I'm relatively listened to. I'm relatively important. I think, you know, it's valuable to, you know, there's value in talking about it, even if it's not like, you know, this very, very kind of methodical 4-hour video. So that's that. I think that's just kind of like a thing I'll probably kind of move towards, just because kind of out of necessity, but also just to, you know,
I have a slightly different stance from what you just said, because when it comes to like other competing video platforms like TikTok, like if you released a TikTok like a month ago, nobody's gonna see it now. Like the only things on your feed are videos from the last week or so. Whereas what I love about YouTube and why I
still get views.
Like people will go back and watch. Well, I think you told me is that like when the Izzy video came out, is you got a bunch of people flocking to the World Tour video, or to
that's probably one of the other World Tour video is the biggest one. Like all things considered, it's probably because of the Izzy video.
There's no way, man. That's all you.
No, absolutely. Well, no. I mean, in the sense of like the reason why the World Tour video has over 1 million views, and I think the Island one is kind of like closing on 900K, is because the World Tour video and the Izzy video, I think, were so kind of linked together in terms of how they grew.
Okay.
So, like, for example, I don't have nearly as many like information saying that people found the other videos through the Izzy video as I do the World Tour video.
Okay,
so I think that's the main reason why the World Tour video is the most successful. Also, I mean, I think the World Tour video is great. I love that one. It's just, I think it's
well, that's the cool thing about YouTube.
I think it got a nice second wind, if that makes sense.
And that I'm witnessing now is that the Smash video that is on in the background that spurred on this discussion is already on track to like do pretty decent. And
nice. Okay,
you're learning as you're going is like the way that this quote unquote algorithm works is that, and again, like this just goes to show like the passion, like the video I made on Portal 1 got maybe like 12,000 views.
Yeah,
and then
I remember seeing that.
Right.
And then the second one did great.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is that like that was another example of I wanted those to be in one video, and now I'm glad that they weren't. I had to split it because I got the end of Portal 1. I'm like, I don't care about the numbers. I want to continue this series. And then I made the Portal 2 video, and it got 1 million views. It was the only video last year to break 1 million. I'm freed from my total drama curse. And now I'm the Portal 2 guy. That because
Actually,
of that,
you're the My Babysitter's a Vampire guy, in my opinion.
Fuck. That was not even. The thing is, the Izzy video, I think the babysitter one is monetized. The Izzy video is not monetized. Still to this day. It got disputed. But like the rest of them are decent. I mean, I like all those videos. That because the Portal 2 video did so well, and I said at the beginning of the video, hey, this is a sequel to this video, that because of that, the Portal 1 video from a year prior got the boost. Similarly, the more and more people that watch the Smash 2 video that haven't watched the Smash 1 video will go back and watch that one. And I think an important bit of being on YouTube is just like building up a backlog that people will continue to watch for years to come. Because if I ever crash out, as the kids say, if I ever like legitimately just fall apart because the work I'm doing is unsustainable and my body fails me or whatever, I will at least I have enough videos to make residuals. Like, I don't know, are we allowed to talk about what we make on YouTube? Does it matter?
You're allowed to. I don't like to.
Okay. I'll say this. My rent every month is about like, because I'm splitting it halvesies, is like 1,200, right? Last month, February, I did not release any monetized video at all. But I did release the musical video at the end of January. So I didn't release anything at the end. I guess that goes to show more something with, okay, let's say February, March. I didn't release anything until the end of March. So whatever I make on the Smash 2 video will go in April. I made 1,000 in February and 800 in March. And I didn't really do anything then. So I'm hoping to get to the point where, like, the idea initially was to keep making less and less videos, but that really demoralized me. And I realized the other day where I'm like, you know what, I'm going to take a break, that I just ended up doom scrolling the whole day. And I'm like, man, I miss working to distract myself.
Interesting.
So like what I'm saying is I make enough to pay my rent, and there are some months that are better than others that I put into my savings to like have as a safety net. So like, in a literal sense, I am living paycheck to paycheck, but not in the sense that like, oh shit, I'm fucked. But in the sense that like all the money I make on the videos goes into keeping me living here, and then all the money I make on Patreon and streams goes into creating the videos and streams. That I use the videos to continue making the videos in the amount of time I can dedicate to them. But I want to get to the point where like I could take even like a 5-month break, but I could still make my rent every month without doing anything because of the residuals on videos. The downside of that is that I forget that sometimes because I'm in my own head and I don't go back to watch my older videos. And I still see comments on the Izzy video, and like, I don't dislike that video, but it was when I was 21 and I'm 24 now. And I'm like, oh man, there's stuff I would have done differently in this video, that I forget that people are still watching that video to this day.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Because I remember watching people like the Game Grumps or whatever and going to MagFest and they would be at a panel and people would like scream their references at them and they would be like, what is that?
Like,
and I was always like, what do you mean you don't know what that is? It's from your most popular video. But then thinking about it, like if you released a video a day, I don't know if I would remember anything.
Yeah, right. I've had people like make jokes to me about videos I've made.
Right.
And I'm like, wait, what's that? Like,
that's happened to me, that people have quoted me at me, and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? And they're like, that's what you said. And I'm like, did I?
Oh, never heard of it. Yeah, right? It's just like, yeah.
We have
Yeah.
discussed YouTube enough. Before we get into our predictions and whatnot, I would like to show off some of this. This is an interesting thing. Nintendo reveals, or not reveals, but they do this trailer every year around this time. Apparently, it's a tradition. The Nintendo Switch Online overview trailer. They've been releasing it every year since, I guess, September 2018 is when they launched online, I think. And it's always the same trailer. It's always just like showing off these characters, and I'm sure you've seen this. It was in the September Direct like forever ago. But they still post it every year on their YouTube channel. But this one, for whatever reason, they uploaded and then deleted and then re-uploaded. That is because for the first time in its history since Nintendo Switch Online has been created, that ROM has been removed. This game, Super Soccer for the Super Nintendo, has been removed from Nintendo Switch Online. And I don't know anything about Super Soccer, but I imagine because it's like a second or third party game, that the rights holder just didn't want to extend their contract, so they just like they said pull it from
to renew it.
Yeah, because like Konami and Capcom and Sega, they have some games on NSO. I never considered the prospect of like they could just remove games from NSO, but it's a game that nobody cares about. But yeah, it is, you know, we don't own anything, we're just renting games.
Yeah, it's like we literally just like that's the really scary thing about digital content. And it's also streaming service, or kind of like limited access to content, is that it's funny calling it content because it's a meme term now, but you know, TV shows,
arts,
games,
we're making
anything.
art.
Yeah, like the fact that it can just be taken away from you, because you're not paying for it specifically, you're paying for access to a library of things that's constantly changing. It's just sad. And I think also it's also sad for the people who honestly maintain these databases, because all things considered, I mean, I could be wrong, I would imagine like Nintendo doesn't want to take this game off, but they still kind of have to, because the ability to play the game on these services is considered more of an ongoing partnership, as opposed to a, do you want to include this game in our little thing?
Right.
And I don't like that, because, you know, I wish this stuff would just be here to stay. And I don't know. I mean, it was already,
the chat is really upset about Super Soccer leaving NSO.
Yeah, I know.
If you don't see me tomorrow, you know why.
Nintendo dragged their like freaking feet for Virtual Console on the Switch for years. Like, I mean, I'm sorry, it genuinely, maybe even infuriates is a big word, but it's
annoying.
It really annoys me that we had to wait like 3 years to play a Nintendo 64 game on the Switch, and all that really entailed was, let's just like literally make a simple ass emulator and then make it work on the Nintendo Switch, which probably, I mean, I'm sorry, it probably did not. Like to get a working prototype of that, it probably took them a day. It probably took them longer to kind of like make sure it, you know, was generally functional. But
because they're so against like any fan made content, I imagine they're like, we have to make an N64 emulator from scratch.
Yeah, either that. I think honestly they probably didn't even do that. I think they probably just like ripped off like an open source one. Maybe not. I don't know. I just think that it's more about like a business decision of like drip feeding stuff to fans. But I cannot like look at it and say that it's, you know.
Chat says plus their emulator was barely functional when N64 came out. That's another thing, is that they were like not slowly updating it, as in like that was their plan, but like I remember the reflection of the Dark Link fight in Ocarina was really fucked up, and then they updated it to kind of fix it, and then they updated it to kind of fix it again. There's a
YouTuber.
You talk about Narrow.
Sorry. Yeah, Narrow, because actually it is interesting because the architecture for Nintendo 64 is so finicky, like much more so than other Nintendo consoles. So yeah, it's so hard to get stuff working right, even with emulation. I think in general, like the SNES and NES, I don't think there were any like major issues with them, at least when the services first dropped. But they were able to do it on the Wii. The Wii U, it worked too, but they had this like really weird colors. It was really muted and stuff. But
yeah,
I think it's just like this.
The issue with NES and Super Nintendo ROMs is just like, on the Wii it was fine because that was primarily like before everything went HD, but as soon as consoles went HD, like they didn't quite figure out the scan lines of it all yet, and even now like they still struggle with it. But the main thing I remember, or at least like the only upside I see of the Switch emulator for N64 games, is that one occurrence in, and maybe Neryl did talk about it, that's probably where I'm regurgitating it from, but hey guys, check out Neryl. I'm sure you've seen the thumbnail.
Yeah, the angry at the fucking
Yeah.
like moon thumbnail.
In Majora's Mask, when the giants are lifting up the moon on the N64, that cutscene lags, so the music is scored to coincide with the cutscene. But on other emulators, the song ends, or the cutscene ends before the song ends because it doesn't lag anymore. And that's like a built-in problem that's kind of purposefully supposed to be there. That was built into the Switch emulator to like put the lag there so that it's more of an accurate. Above all else, like I understand the convenience of it all, but I always prefer to play on original hardware. However, the Zelda games on the N64 piss me off because the analog stick on the N64, it makes Ocarina unplayable. I understand why Egoraptor said what he did, because and most of the people that like Ocarina played it on the 3DS or played the Master Quest or whatever. On the N64, it's unbearable. It's awful.
Yeah.
So that's the information we have on Super Soccer, Super Nintendo. Oh, I did want to say, we said earlier, like, oh, what's this? Let's check out this stream. The only major ROMs still missing from the NSO are like the Pokemon ROMs. I would like to say, I said this in the Smash video, that Star Tropics 2 or Zoda's Revenge: Star Tropics 2 is still missing from the NES ROMs division. I don't know why. But I'm campaigning for that. Whenever they add, because they added Wario Land 4, I guess like last month, and people were very excited about it.
Yeah, they did.
So whenever the day they add Zoda's Revenge to NSO is the day I will be the happiest. I will never need any other games for NSO. Tell the same to go away. You're busy. I'll tell it to come back another day.
I honestly, and maybe I could be wrong, I feel like they might not do the Pokemon games just because Game Freak seems to be really like finicky about that.
They might release a collection like on their own, because that's what they did with like Mega Man and Castlevania and Contra games. Like the reason those aren't on NSO is because they wanted to release them separately. And now that we know that they have to license the games out, that makes sense. So that was Super Soccer.
That's a big part of it too.
Before we get into like talking about our predictions, we can go over, these are just, I guess, I'm not stealing people's tweets. These are just the most consumable way to see them, is that on the Switch website, they showed this image, if I can open it here, of, get updates on Nintendo Switch 2. Oh, this may have been on the Nintendo Daily or the Nintendo Today app. Is they showed this image of the Switch 2, this new render of it, that if you zoom in on it, you can see the C button that we theorized about previously, that we didn't actually, like, they didn't show it in the Switch 2 presentation, but obviously like leaks showed it. We still do not know what this C button means. I saw an insane out there theory, but before I say that, I want to know what you think the C button is.
I honestly have no idea. I think it might be like maybe a mode switch thing. Yeah, I think maybe it means click, switch, clips. I don't know. I honestly have not. I mean,
that switches it to mouse mode?
Yeah,
that's actually
like that.
Probably the most realistic outcome. I didn't even consider
Okay,
that.
Well, I guess I'm glad, because I don't sound as stupid now.
Yeah.
If not that, I mean, when I see C, the first thing I think is camera. But it's like you know,
there's already a camera button.
Yeah, there literally is. I mean, that's kind of a holdover from previous things.
My initial thought was chat. Like, if they can't have a voice chat and the Switch 2 doesn't have a microphone, is that it opens up a little thing on the side and then you can type.
Yeah.
In a game. And I hope that the Switch 2 has a microphone, but I mean, honestly, like, I say that because I'm so used to other people saying it, but I actually don't care. Like, if I want to play a Switch game with friends, I'll just get in a Discord call. Like, I don't care about in-console gaming, unless like there's Mario Kart with proximity chat. That sounds fun.
Yeah, wait.
But the out there theory I saw is that this is a connect button, that if you own a Switch 1, you could use it as a secondary screen for your Switch 2. And that's how they port certain Wii U games and DS games to Nintendo Switch Online.
I would love that.
No,
that's the thing. I
way.
love two-screen games. It's not gonna happen.
Right.
But I've always liked the idea of like two-screen kind of games. I think there's a lot of cool things you can do with it. I think that's why like nowadays you're seeing people so nostalgic for the DS games, because I think there's just, a unique way of interfacing with like video games when you kind of have that kind of two-screen kind of system.
Twitch chat says, forgot that Nintendo had a voice chat system. Well, in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, you can only talk in the stage picking area, but when you're racing, you can't.
Yeah, which is like, man, they kind of missed it. They kind of had something. They kind of could have had something cool there.
I understand
why.
As a kid, because like primarily
getting diamond. Oh yeah.
No, go ahead. I'm just saying, like, they
I
don't want
remember
kids to be
getting
bullied or
Diamond and
whatever.
Pearl. Yeah, that's true. But I remember like seeing this, like I had these like dinky little DS headphones, and theoretically I could have voice chatted while trading Pokemon, but like Wi-Fi on my DS never worked or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And now apparently we might have a chat button. I'm kind of more
Or
bullish on the click button.
or
Sorry,
it can connect two of your screens so you can
Yeah.
play a Wii U or DS game. Or maybe it doesn't even connect to the Switch, it just connects to your TV or something. I don't know.
You press the C button, put it on the ground, you use a Joy-Con, you pretend it's a golf club or something. Like
Well, yeah, that's the club button.
the club button.
And then this is Nintendo has updated the official Nintendo Switch 2 renders on their website and Nintendo Today app now to show the C button. This is a higher res look at it. Let me actually. There we go, proper render, because I imagine like they saw that it got leaked on the Nintendo Today app, so they're like, whatever, we'll show it off. So now we can see the screenshot features over here. I think the analog sticks, that was the major thing I clocked, other than the mouse capability of the Switch 2 presentation, is the analog sticks look to be a lot better, hopefully, in theory. But yeah, the major change, other than the sticks and the mouse capabilities and the way the Switch looks, oh, it's kind of curved in the back there, is this C button that we can speculate on, but again, we're gonna find out in 2 days probably.
Yeah, I don't think
what's over here. Oh yeah, this is what we saw.
Like, I don't think there's gonna be hidden buttons after 2 days from now.
Dude, they're not gonna say it until launch, and then you have to figure out on the launch day. You hit the C button, and it actually stops working.
Yeah, literally.
Dude, there are some things that like my computer or like my car that I refuse to learn, I guess. Like there are so many buttons. There are so many buttons in my car that I don't know what they do. It's like I don't want to. What if my car stops working? Like I don't want to.
What if you like blow up your car? What if it's a self-destruct button?
I didn't know you could go through songs on your radio. That's crazy. I just learned that. And anyway, before we get into, I'm going to say, I thought this would be like 1 or 2 hours. This one is pushing. It's going to be 3. Normally I stream for 3 hours. There is no set time for these podcasts. I see no reason to stretch them out. We're just going to talk for as long as we have stuff to say. Because this is the first episode and we're getting into it and there's a direct coming up, we do have a lot to say, but I wouldn't expect all of these to be 3 hours. Anyway, before we get into our Switch 2 speculation, hop over to Photoshop. They did announce, they showed this on the Nintendo Today app as well, which is maybe why they wanted to show it. The live action film of The Legend of Zelda will be released worldwide on March 26, 2027. Apparently, this is a week after the Sonic the Hedgehog 4 movie. We knew about this for a while. We knew it was in development. Now that it's happening, I guess I can like get on board. People have been throwing out Hunter Schafer's name to play Zelda. I'm more on Team Millie Alcock. Also, I don't want to fall into tropes and be like, oh, this character should play, in like a tokenizing sense, be like, this character should, or this popular trans actor should play Sheik because of so-and-so. I don't think that is why. I do think, however, I subscribe to the idea that Sheik and Zelda, if Sheik is in the film, should be played by a different person. Because in the game, like, Sheik is not a disguise. It is a transformation.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know if you have any theories or anything to say really about the Legend of Zelda movie. I don't love the idea that it's in live action. Like, I know people
that's why, like,
kind of turned up their noses about the prospect of a Nintendo cinematic universe. But although I don't need it to be a cinematic universe, I like the idea of a bunch of Nintendo series all getting animated films. I like the idea of there being an animated cinematic universe.
Yeah. I mean, I could go without the cinematic universe part. I'd rather, I don't know how I feel about like there being like, maybe, I don't know, the idea of there being crossovers and stuff.
Yeah, to me, cinematic universe just means like, oh, we have to use our tertiary characters because we're building a world. Yeah. Which, like, otherwise, I don't think we would get a Kirby or Star Fox or Pikmin movie. You know, I think a quote-unquote cinematic universe would be the only opportunity to get those.
Yeah. I think for me the big issue, maybe it's just like, you know, bias, because, you know, I think for a long time the idea like live action video game movie was just a way to spell disaster. No one likes that stuff.
This is the Smosh sketch.
Yeah, it's just no, literally. So because that's literally what I'm picturing in my mind when I hear like live action Legend of Zelda movie. I imagine Ian Hecox in the outfit saying like Legend of Zelda, Legend of Link. That's literally what I think of in my head. So that is a bias I have. I kind of like Hunter Schafer as a cast, honestly. All things
Yeah.
considered.
Well, the thing is, my major thing, it's not even on innate acting ability, but whenever I think of Hunter Schafer, I think about, like, how she's always doing knife tricks on her Instagram, and, like, so much so that she used the same knife trick in Cuckoo when I saw that, and I, like, pointed at the screen, or no, I was live tweeting. I never do this. I'm never on my phone in the theater. I hate when people do that, but I will concede that while I was watching that movie, I was live tweeting how many knife tricks she was doing. And it was like 7 in that movie. So when I think of, I guess like they could do something with what they did with Peach in the Mario movie, where they want to get away from the damsel of it all and make her cool, like, and have her be proactive in the story. So I think if they had, like, I guess I'm viewing, like, if they do a Zelda movie, it would be like Ocarina or something, or maybe like a traditional Zelda story. And I'm picturing like, oh, Zelda gets kidnapped by Ganondorf or Ganon, and then Link has to save her. And for me, like, I don't want to pigeonhole an actress, but I think Hunter Schafer is maybe too cool for that. Like, when I think of Hunter Schafer, I think of not a scream queen, but like a protagonist in a horror game or story that like has a gun or a knife or something. Like, she's in hand-to-hand combat. I think she could be Zelda, and they just have Zelda be more proactive in this movie. But for whatever reason, when I think of Zelda, like, if they're adapting something, because the Mario movie is, like, vaguely adapted, just of Mario in general, but The Legend of Zelda is more story-based, and, like, if we're looking at the Sonic movies, it kind of goes Sonic 1, and then 2 with Knuckles, and then 3 is based off Sonic Adventure 2. And it seems like 4 is going to be CD with, spoilers if you haven't seen the Sonic the Hedgehog 3 movie, but it's been a while now, with Metal Sonic and Amy. So I imagine whatever the Zelda movie is probably based more on a specific game, if not a specific combination of games. So do you think this would be more Ocarina, more Breath of the Wild, or more like Link to the Past?
Ooh. I don't know. I'd say they'd probably either do something Ocarina-esque or Breath of the Wild-esque. I think I had to pick one of the two.
Because with Breath of the Wild, you could have the dynamic of Link and Zelda on an adventure together. And I know, like, it's really just a matter if they want Link to talk in the movie.
Yeah. That's another consideration.
Right, because you could argue that, like, Mario doesn't talk, but, like, he does. He says things. It would be a bold decision for this live-action Zelda movie. The thing is, like, I'm glad this is releasing in theaters, but to me, like, live-action Legend of Zelda just screams like Netflix show to me, for whatever reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which Zelda starts with Link as a hieroglyphic? Wind Waker? I don't know if they'd start with that one as a movie.
Do you mean the one where he turns into, like, the walls? That's the
well, that'd be strange. I don't think they would start with that.
They wouldn't do that one.
I think it's either, like, Link to the Past, Ocarina, or Breath of the Wild. Or it's the story of Ocarina. Well, I guess both of those have, like, I don't know if they would do the time skip. I mean, maybe. That's, like, a big part of a lot of Zelda games. Or maybe just an original story that they're combining all the things from this.
Yeah. I think they'd probably want to, like, take a lot of the visuals from Ocarina. They'd probably want to, like, recreate a lot. Like, I think, like, the famous like horse ride in the Ocarina like title screen. They're definitely
Death Mountain.
That.
That's the
thing. I think they'd want to, like, really kind of, like, lend credence to a lot of those moments from the. Also, for what it's worth, I mean, although it's gonna be live action, I'm sure it's gonna be like total CGI, like overload. Like, they're gonna probably have, like, CGI.
I don't know. I hope not. I hope it's more like the Witcher show.
Oh, really?
I mean, I hope so.
Yeah.
I guess we don't know anything about it other than that it exists. I imagine. Do you have any fan cast for who you think should be Link? Because I don't.
No. Ian Heacox. I don't know.
Yeah. Austin Hargrave. Did I get it right? the PBG.
Peanut Butter Gamer. Like,
yeah, get him in there. Well, like how the Minecraft and FNAF movie, they have, like, different FNAF and Minecraft, like, tubers in it. You gotta get PBG in this movie somewhere. But Nintendo doesn't care nearly as much about that.
They don't give a shit.
No.
They wipe their ass with fucking Mario and
there's that there's the kid that was in Agatha All Along and Heartstopper. What's his name? You know what I'm talking about? Let me bring this up.
I know who you're talking about. I don't know their name.
Let me get an image and see if this helps. John Locke. Let me find one that
really his name.
Sort of, dude. He's doing a Nuzlocke. Yeah, like, I don't know. Maybe they could go for a relative unknown, but this is really my only. If I had to pick anyone, I guess it would be him. Or they just go with Timothy Chalamet and they're like, fuck it.
Yeah, it's like, I
hate that kid. I hate him. What? Why? Editor, flashbang an image of the guy on screen. Oh yeah, we have a regular editor for this. So if at any point you want to say like, hey, put this on screen, you just gotta say it out loud.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna like command the editor. It's like
right. A real
Touch up.
fun time. Well, that's all I really don't know. I think Link needs to look.
Yeah, maybe I kind of don't give a shit about the movie. I'm like maybe once they kind of like show it off, I'll be a little bit more.
Yeah,
honestly,
I
was kind of like thinking like a Mario movie would be kind of stupid as like when it first was announced. But
yeah,
honestly, I think it looks.
I don't think Timothée looks anything
I was
like
pretty
Link.
happy.
I don't either, but they'll probably like I don't know some kind of stunt casting, because with a live action movie, they need to look more like it. It's a real shame that they already used Anya Taylor-Joy as Peach, because she's also like the perfect, in the least incel way, 4chan way possible. She's got the perfect like skull shape for it. You know what I mean?
Does.
It's hard to say that without sounding like you're the fucking.
She's younger than I thought. Yeah.
Anya Taylor-Joy.
I'm just googling her right now. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Tell me about your Dreamcast. Put an image of the Dreamcast on screen. All right.
I don't watch.
I think it's a good time now to, because I've been sitting at my desk and you've been calling in from wherever it is behind you, the void, I presume. But I think it's time that we on the rest of the stream discuss the title of the stream, which is the Nintendo Switch 2 predictions. Do you want to start with the card or with the characters?
Card.
Okay, let's start with the card. So what we have, if we can pivot over to Photoshop real quick, we have me and Switchy over here, and we have a bingo card that we're going to go back and forth, or maybe just like agree on, and try and fill out this card for the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct and see how many things we got right. Do you want to go first?
Yeah. Okay. I actually don't see it yet, but I'll wait a couple seconds.
It'll be on.
There's a couple things.
Sure.
Well, okay, so is this going to be like about information that we're predicting to be confirmed or not confirmed? Like
we think this is stuff that's going to be shown in the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct.
Okay, 3D Mario. I'll do the easy one.
Like, okay, where do you want to put this? Is a top right situation?
Just put it in the top right. I wouldn't want to call it a free space. I think that's like a little bit. That would just be
that's
like
too cocky.
To be like totally humiliated.
Yeah,
but yeah,
let's do
3D
top
Mario
left.
somewhere.
Okay. I've been saying this for weeks now. I haven't officially said it on stream or whatever. I think it's time. I think Chapter 2 was first shown off in a Nintendo Direct. I think we've been doing the meme for too long. I do think for sure we're gonna get Deltarune the day the stream goes up. Like I think they're gonna be like
after tomorrow.
Right. Well, it'll come out that day, or they will literally say like Deltarune tomorrow. I want to put it
That'd be really funny.
Middle right here a little bit, because that's my Hail Mary. Or I don't think it's too out there. That was loud. But I do think it's possible.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna bank on maybe this is a little bit vague to make it easier. Maybe it's not fair. I'm gonna say a 1-2 Switch sequel or something at the very least that's very clearly made to replicate the spirit of 1-2
New
Switch.
Gimmick IP?
Yeah. Something like that. You can write that.
Or like the tech demo game, basically.
Tech demo game.
Like if they show off something that like uses the mouse cursor, like a new Mario Paint or something, would you count that, or does it have to be a new IP?
I'm kind of bullish on something that kind of seems very clearly meant to follow in 1-2 Switch's footsteps.
Okay.
That's what I was kind of predicting.
New IP gimmick. I gotta put something safe, because I already said Deltarune, so I think, even though everyone's saying like, oh, these major third-party games like Elden Ring, all this stuff that's gonna run on the Switch, and I think that's true, but I want to put Croc here because we know that the Croc collection comes out the second, and I think there's a chance they say something about Croc. I'll put it in the bottom left, kind of here. I'll put it beneath the star. I don't know. I'll put it there. Fuck it. It's in the middle.
Okay. Since we're talking specifically
Are
about
you sure?
what's gonna be on Wednesday,
Uh-huh.
this might be hard to like write down to like 3 or 4 words. I think what they might bring up, we were bringing it up earlier. I think I'll predict that Nintendo Switch 2 edition versions of games, or at the very least like 60 FPS support for old games, is going to be a thing that they announce.
Game upgrades. Is that fair?
Yeah, fair enough. I mean,
I'll
we'll
put it
both know what it means.
Next to Deltarune. Fuck. Okay. I think now would be the time for for Kid Icarus. I'll just put that because I have to put something, and we got to fill out this bingo card.
Oh,
I think the mouse cursor is gonna go somewhere, and I think a Kid Icarus Uprising is not impossible.
Mm-hmm.
Don't forget, Microsoft promised Call of Duty will come to Nintendo soon, like 4 years ago. Remember when Xbox announced Xbox Live was coming to Nintendo Switch? Okay, well I know what my next I know what my next is. You have the floor though.
Yo, mama's so dumb.
Xbox Live.
Xbox Live. Okay.
Editor, put Xbox Live on screen.
They'll show the price.
Okay.
They'll
price drop.
Price. No, I'm saying they'll. Oh yeah, literally. Like they're
dropping the price. Yeah, they're announcing the price.
They're not lowering the price of anything.
Right.
But yeah.
I will say then, should I give a release date or should I just say release date? I think saying release date is too... I think holiday release.
Okay. Actually, that's better. I was gonna... Yeah.
I mean, some people said June, some people said May. I need to get my money up before it comes out in May. Remember that when Subway and Announcer are making a sandwich completely compromised out of game discs? You're funny if any price drop is mentioned or happen. Yeah, they're going to announce the price, and then at the end of the direct, they're going to be like, actually, it's... Well, okay, do you want to predict what the price is?
Okay, $399.95.
$399.95. All right, I'm just gonna, yeah, I'll say $399.95. That's fair. I'll put that instead of price release, so that way we have we got something there. Because I'm not going to be like, oh, they're going to show off the Switch too. Or they're going to show off the C button. Because, like, I'm sure that will happen.
Yeah, literally.
I can't see it not being $400. What do you think $399.95 means?
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, like, more or less.
I'm reading the chat. The chat says I can't see it not being $400. I'm saying, what do you think $399? $399.95 is $400, basically.
Yeah.
What about tariffs, though? I don't think Nintendo would risk the console being too expensive.
Yeah, I think in general, I'm pretty sure that kind of thing isn't really covered with tariffs, but they might be, potentially.
That's like if we can quote unquote get political for a second. Ooh boy, it's one of those podcasts
Yeah.
I said this on my TikTok the other day that, like, because I was doom scrolling, I was like really spiraling. It's like, oh shit, like everything sucks. This guy's ruining everything. That my entire life I understand that like corporations hold more power than like any elected official does. And as an American, that's always like horrified me. I'm like, oh my God, that's awful. But now that it's an elected official who I really dislike, in the back of my head, I'm like, well, I mean, if he does something so severe that all the other countries cut off, like, I can't imagine Meta or Apple or Amazon would be too pleased about that, or any car manufacturer. Like, I could at least, like, have a little security in the fact that, like, major corporations run this fucking country, and they would never let us cut off anything with, like, Japan or China. You know, those are too important to us. At least that's my belief. That's my copium.
That's my white pill, I think, or, like, kind of like cope. I think that because of just, first of all, because I think consumer electronics, especially, well, I mean, I guess I was about to say consumer electronics in general are relatively safe. That's not really true because we've always had tariffs on, I think, a lot of Chinese built like smartphones and stuff. Yeah. I think in general, especially because like video gaming is such a popular pastime in this country, I think I think they wouldn't. I think it would be too ballsy to try and kind of.
Twitch chat says Japan, China, and South Korea are working together, talking about dealing with Trump's tariffs. That's why I'm asking.
No, it's okay. No,
you're not dropping the mood. This is. I appreciate you guys bringing up discussion like this because it's something I've been worrying about a lot. I'm just saying. I'm not saying that to argue with anyone. I'm saying that to like make myself feel better because I was spiraling and I was so anxious. Is that like these major companies would not want us to throw away generations and decades of goodwill between countries just because of this fucking guy, you know? Like, I think Jeff Bezos is an evil motherfucker, but like he understands that we have to be cool with China, you know?
Yeah.
Why do we have to be waving our dick and be like we're the best? Because we're fucking not, man.
I think despite, regardless of
I put Halo on the board. I'm putting a Halo.
The bullshit that comes with tariffs. I think usually those aren't often targeted towards, as I said, video games. I mean, I guess there is some news about tariffs potentially impacting it. I guess usually, I think honestly, I'm pretty optimistic that it won't be a huge impact on what the price of the Switch is. I think it's just because, despite the fact that, I'm not gonna say I'm thrilled. about the current state of the United States government.
Right.
I will say, I think one thing they generally would prefer that people aren't pissed off about is access to things like video games and other common pastimes.
Yeah.
So I think that they would probably try and find a way to have an exception.
That's and this is the final thing I'll say about it, because we gotta do this bingo card.
Yeah.
But that like so much of their base is like the 4chan Gamergate side or whatever that are like constantly terminally online. The 4chan base, basically. That like so much of their platform is like, we're gonna outlaw masturbation and take away video games. It's like, what do you guys think you're voting for, man? Like, this is the opposite of what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, tariffs on Mexico could rise DVD prices. All right, man. Okay, Switchy, what's your prediction?
Okay, well,
I put Halo on the board.
All my other stuff was pretty like because it's like, oh, they're gonna talk about the hardware.
Yeah,
we'll just crap like that.
You could just throw shit out.
I'm kind of bullish on a new Animal Crossing.
I was gonna. Okay, yeah. I'm glad you said it. So I didn't have to take the flack for this one, because it's the same team as Splatoon, I think, and they haven't made a game since 22. And I think the argument is that, oh, they never released Animal Crossing as like a launch title. It's like, yeah, but they also never sold an Animal Crossing as well as New Horizons did.
Yeah,
I imagine it would be a high priority.
They're never gonna look back from New Horizons.
Sorry that this is unrelated to the tariffs, but do you guys think they're just gonna show off one model in the presentation, or would they do something like showing both an LCD for 400 and OLED for 450? I think there's a chance we get OLED, but not in the direct. I think it would be like a good year or so in.
Okay, interesting. That's actually, I didn't think about that, but that's a good question.
I appreciate your question.
Do you think there's gonna be multiple models, like kind of like different models, or?
I hope. Well, here's what I'll put for mine. I want 265 gigabytes. I'm putting that in. I think
you mean 256?
Yeah, 256. Because the first thing I bought for my Switch One was an SD card, because the Switch One can like if you download Breath of the Wild or Fortnite, you can't play any other game.
Yeah, like
so I hope that there at least is a version that has that storage, so I don't need to get another Halo on the Switch. Yeah, why not? I mean, they've been saying this shit for like since 2018. And I think Xbox in general is trying to move away from like Xbox as a platform as opposed to Xbox as a service. I think like in general, there's a chance we could get Game Pass on the Switch too. Maybe not like immediately, but I'm just gonna say Halo for now.
Okay, cool.
You put Animal Crossing. What's your next?
I'm definitely bullish on Animal Crossing. Oh, I'm gonna predict there's only gonna be 2 color schemes for Joy-Cons at the start.
Okay.
It's like I think it's
negative, but
I'm gonna lock in on 2. Oh, you don't think so? What do you think?
Well, no, I don't disagree with you. It's more that like all these other ones are like, oh, 3D Mario, oh, Animal Crossing, oh, I hope it has this much storage, and yours is I think there's only gonna be 2 colors.
I think it's gonna be like some stupid shit too. I'm gonna be totally honest. Like,
I agree with you. I just think it's a funny thing to put on the bingo card.
Because I'm pretty sure at first, like for the Switch One, it was like just like black, red, blue, and then a mix of red and blue. So I think that's a thing that we're probably gonna have to like slowly work our way back towards. Which isn't a big deal for me. I never really was much of a.
I want to put Animal Crossing here actually, because I want to give us a big.
Actually, I just thought of another. I just thought of another.
Well, let me go. Hold on. I want to give us like a clean diagonal, because I have faith in these ones. So I think I'm gonna go. I'm just gonna say cart gimmick. I think the new Mario Kart is gonna have not like all the Mario Karts have a gimmick, but I think it's going to be like, I think it's gonna fundamentally change. All right, fuck it, I'll say this. Sorry, I open up I got a lorem ipsum on my screen right now. Hold on,
bro. Do you think we're gonna have drilling through ground? I remember watching a Nathaniel Bandy video in 2015. He's like, Mario Kart 9. I'm thinking they're gonna have us drill through ground.
I'm gonna
go. The fucking guy from The Incredibles.
I'm the Underminer.
The Underminer. Okay, I'm glad you know that name. I didn't know that name.
I'm putting open zone Mario Kart. I think that there will be a hub that you can drive between courses, and I think there's going to be
Diddy Kong Racing.
You know what? I'll say this. I'm streamlining this. Single player.
I like see everything like 10 seconds behind.
Yeah.
So I still have no idea what you're typing.
I just typed single player Mario Kart. I think there's going to be a dedicated single player campaign in the new Mario Kart game.
Okay.
I hope they start with piss yellow Joy-Con. Yeah, it's gonna be yellow and
Ooh.
brown. All right, see, I want to give us a clean diagonal here because I want
Pokemon pee is the poop.
Yeah, Pokemon Gun. All right, wait, your next decision.
Okay, I think they're gonna show off a new Pro controller.
Okay, new Pro controller. I did see that like apparently there were pre-orders or like patents or something for new GameCube controllers that are still GameCube controllers, but they're compatible with the Switch too. And some people said like, oh, this will definitely have GameCube online then, but I think they just want to have GameCube controllers on the Switch because people like playing with those. I think, well, you already put game upgrades. I think that there's a chance we see something more substantial when it comes to Metroid Prime 4. Like they're gonna show a Switch version of that, or a Switch 2 version of that game.
Okay.
You know what? I'll just put fuck it. New.
Oh yeah, dude. Honestly,
put new DK. They redesigned new DK for a reason, so I'm putting new DK in there.
Dude. Okay, yeah, I'll follow. And maybe it's not developed by Retro. We don't have to put that in. Just new DK is fine.
Yeah,
enough.
new DK. I bet they'll have some sort of accessory for the mouse. Perhaps.
I want to pronounce your name wrong, but someone in the chat named Fedalicious or
yeah, you got it.
Okay, I did get it. Sweet. He mentioned a Nintendo Switch mouse pad. I think they might do that. I think they might actually do that.
Is that what you want for your next answer?
Yeah. I'll put that in. I'm gonna mooch off of like the fans.
Yeah, I mean, you run out of stuff at a certain point. That's why I'm just throwing shit out there. I'm like, fuck it, new DK. If I'm right, then I'm right, you know. And you can come back here. I want to get to the point in this podcast where I make good enough predictions that people think I have an insider source like other Nintendo podcasts.
That'd be like so funny.
Yeah, little do they know I do have an insider source, but I'm keeping that close to the chest. All right, I think I know this is just like a rumor, but fuck it. Planet Robobot. Actually, you know what? Do I want that? I think this console's gonna launch with some kind of Zelda remake. I don't know what it will be a remake of, but I think it will be a Zelda remake. All right, I volleyed the ball back over to you.
Oh crap! Let me think. Dude, I'm like really.
We've been here for a while.
Yeah. Well, no. I kind of want to finish. I'm seeing this through. We're seeing this through.
No, but like, I don't think anyone would blame you for being like, we've been talking for 3 hours straight. Yeah. YouTube chat says second year of Luigi.
Second year of Luigi.
Ooh, you know what? When's the last time we got it? Luigi's Mansion was 2019, right?
Luigi's Mansion 3, I think, was maybe 2020 or what?
I think it was 2019. I just talked about this. What if the Switch 2 launches?
I just didn't play it for a year or two.
Yeah.
Luigi's Mansion 4. I'll put that in.
Okay, because we did just get 2 HD. I think there's a chance there's like another 3DS port sneak. I almost put Planet Robobot because I've heard rumblings about that, but I don't know if I'd want that to be a Switch launch title. Okay, so
I wouldn't want it to.
No, Luigi's.
What was that like submarine game they put on the freaking 3DS at first? I forget what it's called, but it was like
Steel Diver.
Like, about like Steel Diver, Face Raiders 2.
In the theme of that, I'm gonna put Pilot Wings because that was a 3DS and an N64 launch title, and I think it's finally time we bring back Pilot Wings. If the way this is set up, if we ever want to get a diagonal bingo, it has to be one of us. Okay, well, I hope whatever your 2 most realistic choices are that aren't 3D Mario and new IP, I'll put in the bottom right so we can get a bingo.
Nintendo Switch Sports 2. I'm not too confident about
you don't think there'll be DLC? You think there's going to be a new one?
I think that DLC. No, new one.
Are you okay? I'm putting sports.
Yes.
New
Beyonce
game.
No one's better. Oh,
the DS commercial.
Yeah.
I'll put that over here. I don't have faith in that one. I'll be honest.
Dude, literally, I'm looking at my specific predictions. I look like a psycho.
Yours are the most realistic, I think.
Oh, okay.
Is $3.99 3D Mario new IP gimmick? I have fucking Pilot Wings, Kid Icarus, new DK, Zelda remake. I'm throwing my balls out because I could be right accidentally, and then people will be like, "Oh shit, he guessed it." Sometimes you just gotta say random shit. I have 2 options left. I think I'm gonna go with Mario Sluggers. Get that shit in there, might as well. It's the only sports game other than the Hoops one that we haven't.
Black Mage on the Switch too.
I guess someone should have said Sonic Cross Worlds or Sonic Racing Cross Worlds because that's probably a safe bet. But we're going all out.
How many more are there?
You have 2 slots left.
Okay, I'm gonna predict a new IP. There's a
Okay.
new like first party IP, like what Arms was. I don't think they're gonna.
Well, you already have a new IP gimmick. Do you also want to put?
Yeah, just a new entire like series that they're gonna try and do.
Okay.
If you
new
yeah
series. Before I put my last one, do you want to put your last one? This is your last slot. Remember, and
Smash
new
teaser. I'm stealing it. You
okay, I was the reason I was saving mine for last is because I wanted to be dramatic and say Smash teaser. But yeah, okay, I'll put that.
Well, I just can't read the room, I guess.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I mean, I should have said it ahead of time. Okay, Smash teaser. So the diagonal from top left to bottom right is 3D Mario, new IP gimmick, new series, Smash teaser. I'm gonna switch $3.99 and Smash teaser. I'm gonna cheat and give us a bingo. But if we get Smash teaser, Deltarune, Pilot Wings, and new sports game, new Switch sports game, we know what that means. Sports new game, right. Well, for my final one, okay. I'm gonna say they need to have something that is more powerful than what we're used to as like kind of a tech demo. Because in the Switch 1 release trailer, they showed like Skyrim, and everyone was like, "Oh shit, Skyrim on the Switch, that's crazy." There needs to be a modern equivalent of that. I don't know if Elden Ring is it. Maybe like the Resident Evil remakes, because those are close with Nintendo and like those are powerful games that they could run. You know what?
I'm pretty partial to Elden Ring.
Final F7 remake. I'm putting the Final Fantasy.
Oh my god, I would love that.
I think
I'll second that.
Yeah,
I don't think well, actually, I don't know if it's gonna happen, but I'll second that as like kind of.
I think if they want a major like pseudo next gen game to show the power of the Switch 2, that their base would understand, it would be Final Fantasy VII remake. So our bingo card from left to right and then down is 3D Mario holiday release, Smash teaser, 256 gigabytes, only 2 colors, new DK, new IP gimmick, Deltarune, game upgrades, Final Fantasy VII Remake, new Pro Controller, Zelda Remake, Free Space, Halo, Animal Crossing, Kid Icarus, mouse pads, Pilot Wings, new series, single-player Mario Kart, Luigi's Mansion, Croc, Nintendo Switch Sports, new game, Mario Sluggers, and $399.95. That is what we have for our bingo card. Now would be the time to end it, but before we do, I could at least, like, maybe this isn't something we speculate, but rather, like, I mean, because I have this board over here, this Smash speculation board, that we have nothing on. You know, we will upgrade with time. And I don't really have a high bar for what I can and can't put on Smash. If it just comes up in conversation, it will go on the board. It's fun to have things that you just upgrade or...
Okay.
Where did we go? Where did you go? Okay, we're back. That you just update over time. And I also have this other document of all of the characters in Mario Kart, in mainline Mario Kart history, that have been spotted in the Mario Kart 9. I think it's going to be called Mario Kart X. Oh, I should have put that. These are the characters we have confirmed for Mario Kart so far, which is Mario, Luigi, Peach, Daisy, Rosalina, Birdetta, Yoshi, Toad, Koopa Troopa, Shy Guy, Toadette, King Boo, Baby Mario, Baby Luigi, Baby Peach, Baby Daisy, Wario, Waluigi, DK with the new design, Bowser with the new design, Bowser Jr., and Pauline. Now, Mario Kart isn't exactly the same as Smash Bros. Is when, like, character speculation is the most important part. I would argue, although I would like to see Dry Bones and maybe Rob, that... Do you have anyone on this board that you really want to see that hasn't been shown yet?
I'm always very partial to seeing... I kind of hope Rob comes back. I'm not really super, I'm not super, convinced that'll happen.
Right.
If not... I guess I guess one thing that I think is pretty reasonable that hasn't been confirmed yet. I kind of hope PD Piranha comes back. I've always been a PD Piranha guy.
Okay. I mean, it wasn't 8 Deluxe. Like there was only apparently 4 characters.
I forgot all these characters.
These were DLC characters. I forgot Peachette was in the game.
Yeah, same.
They were just Honey Queen, Rob, Koopa Paratroopa, and DK Jr. I think they could bring back DK Jr. But what I was gonna say is, when it comes to Mario Kart, character speculation is not nearly as important, at least to me, as course speculation. I think when we're talking about theories and whatnot and the excitement of the hype cycle, the more exciting part of Mario Kart are the returning courses rather than the returning characters. And I could make a chart for that, but we haven't seen any returning courses so far, so I think we should maybe hold off until we see
Yeah.
that. The next episode of Switch to Ultra, if we can go back to our hosting circle, as we're wrapping up our first inaugural episode on March 31st, 2025, Switch to Ultra episode 001. That next week's episode, we will have a lot to discuss because it will be after the Nintendo Switch 2 to Direct, and there will show off a lot of things, and we will have potentially more documents to go over and more things to say, and then probably, I think it'll mainly be focused on Mario Kart. I think with 3D Mario and Mario Kart, we put a lot of bullshit on that bingo card, but I think realistically it'll mainly be focused on Mario and Mario Kart. They might not even show off a 3D
Honestly,
Mario, that'd be awful. But
the more I think about it, I'm thinking like I'm actually more and more confident. Maybe not like I like the less absurd the idea of a new IP just being kind of shown off is like, to me. I think that's something that they might kind of like pull out of the bag. But who knows? Who knows?
Well, we have, I believe, covered everything on our docket. Everything worth cover. Oh, we said earlier, well, we're coming to an end, but we should at least, let's give a one-word response to this. We said earlier in the opening before stream started how strict we want this to be, like just focusing on the Switch. And the more episodes we get under our belt, I imagine we'll just talk about whatever's going on in our lives. We had a decent segment of this talking about making YouTube videos, and we always have a lot to talk about outside of Nintendo, but this is just the shell to put us in place. I'm in this for the long haul. I foresee this going on. I think this is going to become second nature. Maybe if we ever get bored of each other, we'll just cycle in a third every now and then. I would like to get guests on this to like individual experts. Like if they show off a Splatoon, like I don't know shit about Splatoon, so we'll have to call in the experts for each individual game. I think that would be fun. But as of right now,
I think it's a fun way to
earlier today, it was announced that Catch Up Entertainment, which is the distributor that bought the rights to The Day the Earth Blew Up, a Looney Tunes film, has gotten the rights to distribute Coyote vs. Acme, the movie that Warner Brothers tried to kill for years prior. I feel like we've been hearing about this for years now. What is your one-word response to that information?
Awesome.
Cool. That's my response. That's totally awesome and cool. Awesome. Cool. Got it. Well, do you have any, do you want to plug? Do you want to tell people that maybe don't know who you are, where to go, where to find you, where to see you?
All right. YouTube.com/Switchy. The second I is a 1. Just search up Total Drama, Comprehensive Roast Total Drama.
Total Drama guy.
I'm kind of known. Well, I'm actually doing a video right now. I'm actually doing this podcast with the Total Drama guy, but I'm known as the. I'm just kidding.
I don't know if you heard about. Yeah, you're plugging this show.
Yeah. But yeah, no. So I talk about a lot of cartoons and video games and stuff. Mostly cartoons these days, but
of course.
One video I'll shell because it's doing pretty well, but it hasn't been like explosive. Is I made a video going through the entire history basically of Club Penguin a couple months ago. I thought that was a pretty fun video. So you haven't seen that? I think it's a really cool video, especially if you played the game as a kid. So I'll show that.
I was gonna show it on screen. Here it is. Here's Switchy channel. Whoa, Lemonade Mouth. Got everything you could ever want on here. You guys, if you're watching this on my Turbo channel, which is my secondary gaming channel, where all these VODs and if you want to keep updated with information on Nintendo or anything gaming, I would say subscribe to the BH Ultra Turbo YouTube channel. You can also subscribe to my regular YouTube channel, which is just BH Ultra. And obviously, I stream here on twitch.tv/BH Ultra Live. I'm on Twitter as BH Ultra. I'm on TikTok as Ultra BH. I'm on Instagram as BH Ultra Official. I'm fucking all over the place. I have a Newgrounds account where I post shitty drawings. That's me. I have been your co-parent for tonight.
I've been your other co-parent.
And that is the first episode of Switch to Ultra Under the Belt.